You ever have one of those moments where everything around you moves in slow motion, and you're the only one left standing in a crumbling building? That was me, standing in the sleek glass office I helped build from the ground up, hearing my wife's voice echo across the marble floor like a shotgun blast to the chest. "You're done here, Jake. We don't need lazy people like you," Emma said, arms folded, cold as steel. And standing next to her, grinning like she just won the lottery, was her sister, Madison, the new CEO and CFO of Griffin Ventures. A company I started. A company I bled for. A company I handed to her, to them, trusting my family would keep it safe. I didn't say a word. Just nodded, smiled politely, and walked out. I wasn't surprised. Deep down, I knew something was coming. Emma hadn't looked at me the same in months. That woman used to cling to me like gravity. Now, she acted like I was some pathetic house pet shedding on her designer rug. Still, I didn't expect her to stab me in the back on a Tuesday morning, in front of the entire board, like I was some Tim from accounting who forgot to CC someone on an email. The next morning, I was pouring myself a coffee in my garage gym, because apparently, I didn't have a damn office anymore, when I got a call from Emma's father, Mr. Dalton Carter. "Jake, what the hell is going on?" he barked through the phone. I told him calmly, "Your daughter's fired me." Said I was lazy. Silence. Then came the fury. Did they not read the damn contract? And just like that, I knew. I knew I had built a trap years ago, and they walked right into it. See, when I founded Griffin Ventures, I put a clause in the company charter. It stated that if I was ever removed without cause, I'd walk away with full voting control, a severance package the size of a small country's GDP, and most importantly, I'd retain ownership of all core patents and intellectual property. They didn't read the contract. Oh, but they would. And when they did, their smug little faces would melt faster than butter on a hot skillet. I waited. Not long. Just a few hours. That afternoon, Emma stormed into our house. Hair disheveled, makeup streaked, and eyes like daggers. "You set us up," she screamed. "No, sweetheart. I protected myself. You're the one who pulled the trigger." She tried to play the victim. Said I was distant. Said I didn't support her vision. Said she needed to take control of her destiny. Funny. Last week she was sitting on my lap in the hot tub talking about a second honeymoon in Bora Bora. Now, she was a monster in heels, drunk on power, and something else I hadn't seen before: guilt. I let her rant. Let her throw her wine glass. Let her tear her own narrative to shreds. Then I said, "Just admit it. It's not about the company. It's about the man you're warming up with after hours." Her lips parted, but she didn't deny it. Boom. There it was. Confirmation. No denial. No excuses. Just pure, freezing silence. You want to know how it feels when the woman you gave your life to, sold your soul for, betrays you? It's not rage. Not even sadness. It's numbness. Like someone flipped a switch and you're just watching your life on a broken screen, glitching and skipping frames. She walked out that night without another word. But I wasn't done. I pulled out the contract and sent a copy directly to the board, the legal team, the media, and, just for fun, her little visionary business partner, Cole Winters. Oh yeah, Cole. The fitness guru with zero business sense and a six-pack she couldn't resist. What she didn't know. I'd seen the emails. The texts. The hotel invoices billed under her sister's name. I had everything. This wasn't just betrayal. It was coordinated sabotage. And they thought I was lazy? They were about to see what a fully awake, fully focused, and fully vengeful Jake Carter looked like. Let the games begin. I waited exactly 2 days. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew Emma and Madison were the kind of reckless egomaniacs who'd try to cover their tracks before even understanding what they stepped into. By the time they realized the entire legal team had gone radio silent and the board wasn't replying to their emails, the panic started kicking in. And I could feel it from miles away. They thought I was finished. That firing me would be the cherry on top of their little power play. But they underestimated me. Emma always did. She thought being loud meant being right. Thought cold glares and tight dresses gave her power. What she didn't know. I had already bought out her co-founder's silent shares last year during a liquidity panic. I'd been prepping for this moment the way a soldier preps for a siege. Quiet. Calculated. Ruthless. And then it happened. Emma came back. But not like before. Not screaming. Not furious. This time she came in soft. Like a fox slinking back into the henhouse. She wore that same red blouse from our anniversary dinner 3 months ago, the one she swore was just too fancy to wear again. Her voice, syrupy and fake, echoed down the hallway of the home I still owned. Jake, can we talk? She asked, setting her purse down gently like we were in therapy. You mean before or after you fired me and let Cole tap dance through my office? Her jaw tightened. There it was. That flicker of guilt. That half-second micro-expression that betrayed the truth. I didn't plan for things to happen this way, she said. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. You planned enough to forge documents with Madison and move board votes behind my back. I was angry. You were always distracted. Distant. I laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah? Distant? Because I was running a company, building you your dream, working 16 hours a day while you were, what? Playing footsie with your Pilates instructor? She flinched. Gotcha. She sat down, crossed her legs, trying to look poised. I made a mistake. But maybe we can fix things. You want to fix things? She nodded. Okay. I pulled out the manila envelope. The one labeled confidential. The one with screenshots of her chats with Madison, Cole, even 2 other names I hadn't told her I knew yet. Men she met during girls' nights that lasted until sunrise. I slid the file across the table without a word. She didn't even open it. Her hand just hovered over it, then pulled back. I'm not here to be blackmailed. No, Emma, I said coldly. You're here because you just realized that you're not in control anymore. You're here because Daddy called you and told you about the clause. Because now you know the patents are mine, the core tech is mine, and your shiny new throne is built on my paperwork. Silence. She stood up, shaking. You'll regret this. Will I? I asked, standing too. Because I regret every second I didn't see through your lies. I regret every dollar I poured into your dreams. I regret not listening to the voice in my head the day you and Madison said you wanted to be equal partners. That was never the plan, was it? Her eyes darted away, and for the first time in years, she looked small. Then, as she walked toward the door, she turned and dropped the last grenade. Oh, and by the way, I'm pregnant. It's not yours. And just like that, the world stopped. She slammed the door and left me standing there, heart pounding, vision tunneling. I had no words, no breath, only silence. Because this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. Would you like the revenge to escalate legally, publicly, or both in the next part? I didn't move for what felt like an hour. Just stood there, staring at the door she slammed behind her, as if my brain refused to process the last sentence she threw at me like a final, twisted gift. Pregnant. Not mine. That echo repeated over and over in my head like a taunt, bouncing off the walls of everything I once believed was solid. I wasn't just betrayed, I was humiliated, violated, publicly, privately, deeply. And the worst part? She wanted me to break. But instead of collapsing, I sat down, opened my laptop, and began pulling every string I had left. She thought she'd taken the company. She thought she'd taken my pride. Now I was going to take everything. I started with Cole, the pretty boy with motivational Instagram quotes and half a brain. What Emma didn't realize is that Cole had a criminal record from his early 20s, petty stuff, minor assault charges, unpaid taxes, even a fraudulent wellness brand that got shut down by the FTC, all buried beneath layers of PR and growth journey posts. I had the receipts. I packaged them neatly into a dossier and sent them anonymously to the press. Within 12 hours, every major outlet was covering it. The next morning, Cole's sponsors dropped him. His gym franchise pulled out. A pending book deal was canceled mid-negotiation. Emma tried calling me. 5 missed calls. I didn't pick up. Instead, I met with Mr. Carter. The old man sat across from me at his country club, sipping his bourbon with a look that said he was disappointed, but not in me. Madison came crying to me last night, he said, begging for damage control. Emma's a mess. The company's in chaos. I just stared out the window. Good. He sighed. You really don't want to fix this? She fired me, I said slowly. Told me I was lazy. Then she fired the man who built her empire and announced she's carrying another man's child. I want you to understand something, sir. I'm not just walking away. I'm tearing the roof off while I go. He smirked. That's the Jake I remember. And with that, he signed the document. A transfer of voting rights. Full support from the founding board. Madison had tried to override it, but it was too late. Their actions had triggered the clause. I was reinstated as primary shareholder and majority vote. By evening, I walked back into the same office Emma fired me in. Her seat was still warm. She was sitting there, frozen like a deer in headlights. Madison stood to the side, pale and shaking. What are you doing here? Emma asked, voice cracking. I tossed the signed board agreement on the table. You never read the contract, did you? She flipped through it. Her face changed from confused to terrified in seconds. We didn't think. No, Emma, you didn't. Madison grabbed her arm. What does this mean? It means you don't run Griffin Ventures anymore, I said. You don't run anything. You can't do this. I just did. And before they could say another word, the new head of legal, my guy, entered with security. Ladies, I'll need your badges. They screamed. Emma even cried. It wasn't pretty. She tried blaming Madison. Madison tried blaming her. Cole showed up at some point. Security escorted him off the property within minutes. The circus was in town, and I was the ringmaster now. They were out. And I wasn't satisfied yet. That night, I went home, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and opened a folder labeled Final Round. It wasn't enough to win. They needed to feel what I felt. They needed to break. I didn't sleep that night. Not a minute. I just sat there, lights off, one hand on the glass of whiskey and the other scrolling through months of betrayal, lies, and the twisted life Emma had been living behind my back. She didn't just cheat. She built a second life, a parallel universe where I didn't exist. And what made it worse? She built it using everything I gave her. My trust, my money, my company. I opened the folder labeled Final Round again. Inside were documents, screenshots, surveillance footage, everything. Some of it I'd gathered months ago when I first felt something was off. Others were recent, pulled by a private investigator after I caught her texting Cole under the name Candace at 2 a.m., claiming she was on a girl's trip. The PI didn't just follow her. He dug. He got into her email backups, pulled location data from her phone, and even tapped into her apartment's doorbell camera. Yes, the second apartment she claimed was a workspace for her startup. It was anything but a workspace. Cole wasn't the only one. There was a married client from Europe, a record label manager from LA, one of Madison's own exes. Each of them appeared in those security clips, one after another, entering that apartment like clockwork. And worst of all, they were laughing. About me. About how easy I was. How clueless. I watched 5 minutes before I had to shut the laptop. It felt like acid in my throat. That next morning, I sent the entire file, encrypted and clean, straight to Emma's father. No warning. No message. Just the truth. At 10 a.m., I got a text from him. I'm sorry. I had no idea. Do what you need to do. So I did. The first move was public. I released a company-wide statement welcoming myself back as CEO, citing contractual oversight and a realignment of leadership. No names. No blame. Just enough to get the attention of the media again. Emma tried to post something snarky on Instagram, some quote about rising from the ashes. She turned off the comments after 30 minutes. That's how long it took before people started posting screenshots of her with Cole, the accusations, and one video from a Vegas trip 2 years ago where she was clearly doing more than dancing in the VIP section. I didn't leak it. I didn't have to. The wolves were already hungry. But the real storm came at noon, when Emma showed up at my office again, this time without the lipstick, without the heels, wearing sunglasses indoors like she'd been crying for hours. She slammed the door shut behind her. Jake, you've made your point. I stood up. I'm just getting started. I lost everything. I lost my name, my credibility, my family's respect. No, Emma, you gave it away, piece by piece, on your knees, in hotel rooms, in that apartment I paid for. She winced like I hit her with a brick. Do you even know if the baby is his? I asked coldly. I don't. She paused. Her hand moved to her stomach, just slightly. It doesn't matter. You wouldn't hurt an unborn child. I took a step forward. You really think I'd ever lay a hand on a child? I'm not you. But that doesn't mean I won't take you to court, strip you of alimony, and make sure you never see a cent of Griffin Ventures again. She tried tears. Real ones this time. Or close enough. Jake, please. I didn't love them. I was lost. You weren't lost. You were greedy. You wanted more. Always more. She broke down, sat on the floor like a crumpled dress, whispering apologies I didn't care to hear. For a moment, I felt something. Not pity, not rage. Emptiness. Because the woman I married? She was long gone. This was just the shell. I turned around, walked past her, and called in security. Escort Mrs. Carter out. Permanently. And when the door closed behind her, I finally exhaled. Not because I was finished, but because now I was free. Let me know when to continue with the next part. The silence after she left was almost too loud. I stood by the window, looking out over the city, and for a moment, the weight of everything crashed down on me. Not just the betrayal, not just the lies, but the time. Years of it. Wasted on someone who looked me in the eyes every day and pretended to love me while building a separate life in the shadows. I should have seen it earlier. The way she stopped touching me unless there were people around. The fake smiles that never reached her eyes. How she used to ask about my day and then one day just didn't. I had excuses for all of it. Told myself she was tired, stressed, overwhelmed with work. I was so damn loyal it made me blind. But now, I wasn't blind anymore. I was wide awake. I sent my lawyer one final text that afternoon. Initiate divorce. No settlement offers. Go scorched earth. He replied instantly. Understood. The court case was going to be brutal. But I had everything. Every text. Every transfer of funds. Every recording. I wasn't leaving a single inch for her to spin the narrative. She and Madison went quiet for a few days after that. Cole, too. His gym closed temporarily, but everyone knew what that meant. Sponsors gone. Investors pulling out. Rumors of lawsuits circling like vultures. One evening, I got a call from Madison. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity made me listen. Her voice was trembling. Jake. I know I don't deserve you answering this. I didn't know Emma was doing all that. I thought it was just Cole. I'm sorry. I was stupid. I was jealous of everything you had and let her convince me you were the problem. She exhaled. I'm just calling to say I hope you burn the whole thing down. And if you want me to testify in court, I will. That caught me off guard. But I didn't call her back. Not yet. She made her bed next to Emma. Now she could lie in it. Then came the bombshell. 2 days later, TMZ leaked the surveillance footage from Emma's apartment. The one showing her drunk, stumbling into the elevator with Cole and another man, both shirtless, laughing. It went viral in minutes. The caption read, CEO's wild night raises more than eyebrows. Was this the final straw for Griffin founder Jake Carter? I didn't leak it, but someone did. Suddenly, she was toxic. Clients dropped out of contracts. Brand partnerships terminated overnight. And worst of all for her, Mr. Carter publicly released a statement condemning her actions and announcing a new trust structure for the family estate. She wasn't just fired from the company. She was cut off from her family legacy. I should have felt something. Maybe satisfaction. Vindication. Instead, I felt hollow. That night, I sat alone at the edge of the bed we used to share. The sheets still smelled like her perfume, faint and bitter. I'd been sleeping in the guest room, but for some reason, I wandered in there, just to see if anything still felt familiar. It didn't. I opened the drawer on her side of the bed and found a stack of Polaroids. Old ones. Us. From when we were still real. When she used to kiss my neck just because. When she'd sneak into my office just to sit on my lap and waste time. When she looked at me like I was the only man in the world. I stared at those photos until my eyes burned. And then I lit a match. Watched it all turn to ash in the bathroom sink. I didn't cry. But something inside me died quietly in that moment. The part of me that still loved her. The part that hoped. The part that waited for an explanation that would never come. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, like my body was too wired to rest. I went downstairs, brewed coffee, and stood in the kitchen staring at nothing while the world outside slowly turned orange. There was a calm in the silence now. No more games, no more fake smiles across the breakfast table, no more pretending everything was okay while my wife snuck out for her morning yoga sessions. I opened my phone, scrolled through the notifications, news outlets, lawyer updates, a few texts from people I hadn't heard from in years suddenly checking in. Funny how people crawl out of the woodwork when your life's on fire. But one message stopped me. It was from Cole. You got what you wanted. Hope you're happy. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I typed back. Not yet. But I'm getting there. He read it. Didn't reply. Coward. Later that day, my lawyer called with news. Emma's legal team was already begging for a settlement. The pressure was too much. Her reputation was shredded, her accounts frozen due to the trust clause, and with Madison flipping sides, she had no leverage left. They're offering to walk away quietly, he said. No claims. No alimony. You keep everything. I almost laughed. But then I said, decline. He paused. You sure? I want a trial. I want it on record. I want the world to hear it from a judge's mouth that she lied, cheated, stole, and destroyed herself. Got it, he said. Let's bury her. That same evening, I went to the office and found Madison waiting by the elevators. Her face was pale, no makeup, dressed in something you wouldn't expect from a woman who used to treat the lobby like a runway. I meant what I said, she said softly. I'll testify. Whatever you need. Why? I asked. You were part of it. I know, she said, eyes glossy. I thought she loved you. I didn't know half the things she was doing, and I didn't read the contract. I just followed her lead. I studied her face. I could see the regret, the cracks. Then say it in court. I will. She stepped closer. Jake, if I ever made you feel like I was against you personally. You were. I cut in. But now? Now you're useful. So show up. Tell the truth. Then disappear. Her mouth tightened. She nodded. I walked away. That weekend, I started boxing again. First time in years. Threw on gloves, stepped into the ring at an old underground gym I used to train at before success softened me. Every punch felt like therapy. Every hook, a release. I hit harder than I thought I could. All that rage. All that betrayal. It had to go somewhere. I wasn't going to carry her mistakes anymore. Then came the trial. The courtroom was cold. Wooden. Sterile. But the tension was fire. Emma sat across from me, her belly now showing slightly. She tried to wear white, maybe to look innocent. But the eyes of the jury didn't buy it. They'd seen the tapes. They'd read the statements. They'd heard Madison testify. When her father took the stand and publicly denounced her actions, you could hear a pin drop. Emma didn't even cry. She just looked vacant, like she'd accepted the fall. Or maybe she finally realized that this wasn't a nightmare, this was her life now. When the judge ruled in my favor, full control, full asset retention, and public record of marital misconduct, I didn't smile. I just nodded. It was done. After the ruling, as we were leaving the building, Emma caught up with me. Alone. She didn't look angry anymore. She looked lost. Jake, she said, do you ever wonder if we could have fixed it before all this? I looked her dead in the eyes. You killed it long before I ever picked up a shovel. She blinked. Winter slid down her cheek. I walked away. And this time, I didn't look back. A month passed. Not a word from her. The media storm faded, news scandals replaced ours, and the world moved on like it always does. But me? I was still sifting through the wreckage of a life I used to think was solid, trying to make sense of what was real and what was just a performance in expensive clothes. The house felt different. Lighter, somehow. I started sleeping in the master bedroom again. The smell of her perfume had finally faded. I replaced the sheets, repainted the walls, removed every framed photo where her smile looked too perfect to be honest. I wasn't rebuilding. I was reclaiming my name, my peace, my time. It's wild how betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it rearranges your entire reality. You question your instincts, your worth. You wonder how long they were lying while looking you in the eye. And the worst part? You start questioning every memory. Was that weekend getaway real? Was her laugh real? Was the way she used to trace her fingers down my back at night real? Or was I just a placeholder until someone more exciting came along? I was at the office late one night, reviewing acquisition proposals, when my assistant buzzed in and said someone was at reception asking to see me. It's her, she whispered, like saying the name out loud might curse the building. I didn't answer for a moment. Then I said, send her in. Emma walked in slowly. No makeup. Hoodie. Hair tied back. She looked like a ghost. And not because she was tired, because she finally saw herself without the illusion she worked so hard to maintain. She sat across from me like a stranger. I had the baby, she said quietly. I said nothing. It's a boy. Still nothing. I named him Caleb. You always liked that name. I raised an eyebrow. You mean the name I picked when we talked about kids 5 years ago? The name you laughed off because it sounded too biblical. She looked down. I'm not here to ask for anything, she said. I just wanted you to know. I leaned back, folded my arms. Does he know who the father is? Cole left before I gave birth, she said, eyes glassy. He wanted nothing to do with it once the cameras turned off and the money stopped flowing. Shocking. She smiled bitterly. You know what hurts the most? No, but I'm sure you'll tell me. I thought I was upgrading. I thought I deserved better. More excitement. More passion. I wanted the thrill back. And what did you get? She wiped under her eyes. Silence. A baby I can't afford. A sister who won't answer my calls. And a man I destroyed who's somehow standing taller than ever. For the first time, I let her see it, the coldness behind my eyes. I gave you loyalty. You turned it into leverage. I gave you my life, and you lit it on fire for some sweaty gym boy and a handful of compliments. She winced. I don't hate you, Emma, I said, but I will never forgive you. And I don't pity you. You built this coffin. Now sleep in it. She nodded slowly. I just wanted to say sorry, even if it's too late. I looked her dead in the eye. It is. She left without another word. And when the door closed behind her, I finally felt it. Closure. It didn't come with fireworks. No dramatic music. No final kiss or screaming match. Just peace. These days, I wake up early. I train. I work. I breathe. I smile. I go home to a house that's finally mine. Sometimes people ask me how I survived it. Here's what I tell them. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It reveals who you really are beneath all the noise. You can either drown in what someone did to you, or use it as a ladder out of the hole they left you in. So here's my advice. Trust your gut. Protect your peace. And never let someone who couldn't even be honest in bed make you question your value. She fired me thinking I'd crumble. What she didn't know, I was just getting started. Spring came fast. The city warmed up, trees bloomed again, and life somehow moved forward. People smiled more, laughed, dated, married, divorced. Life never stopped for anyone, no matter how gutted they felt inside. But I wasn't gutted anymore. Not numb either. I was just awake. Fully. The man I used to be. The one who believed in forever, in building empires with your spouse, and dying old together on some porch somewhere. You died the moment she said, I'm pregnant. It's not yours. What rose in his place wasn't bitter. Just sharper. Less forgiving. More precise with where I gave my energy. I moved offices. Sold the house. Too many ghosts in those walls. Too many nights wondering if the woman sleeping beside me was dreaming of someone else. I bought a new place on the coast, open, clean, quiet. With nothing that reminded me of Emma. No faint perfumes. No shared drawers. No memory foam bed she used to sink into after her lies. One evening, a letter came. No return address. Just my name, written in her handwriting. I hesitated, fingers running across the edge of the envelope, debating whether to feed it straight to the shredder. But I opened it. Inside, no apology, no anger, just a photo of the baby. And on the back, one sentence written in shaky pen. He has your eyes. I stared at it for a long time, not because I believed her, but because a small, traitorous part of me wanted to. I folded the picture, put it back in the envelope, and tucked it in a drawer. Not to keep. Just not ready to throw away yet. Maybe one day I'll want to know who that kid is. Maybe I'll want to see if the eyes match mine, or just my nightmares. I never answered her. Never will. That door is closed. But I did start talking again. To people. To friends I pushed away during the chaos. To my brother, who I hadn't seen in years. Even started seeing someone new, not serious, just light. No lies. No pretending. No games. Just two people breathing in the same direction for once. She asked me once, over coffee, what happened with your ex? I didn't tell her the full story. Just said, she mistook loyalty for weakness. That was her last mistake. She nodded like she understood. And I think she did. Maybe that's why I kept seeing her. Weeks passed. Then one night, I stood on my balcony, wind brushing my face, watching the waves crash in rhythm. And I thought about how much had changed in so little time. How quickly your whole world can split at the seams, and still, somehow, you keep standing. And that's when it hit me. Emma didn't destroy me. She freed me. Because when someone walks out of your life, dragging your dignity behind them, and you still rise, you don't just survive. You evolve. I don't miss her. Not really. I miss who I thought she was. That's different. Love can blind you. But betrayal? Betrayal teaches you how to see in the dark. And once you learn how to see in the dark, you never fall for the shadows again. It was sometime around midnight when I got the call. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my gut told me to answer. Maybe curiosity. Maybe instinct. Maybe just boredom. I picked up. Silence at first. Then a shaky breath. Jake. Her voice. Soft. Weak. Emma. I didn't ask how she got the number. I'd changed it months ago. But I figured someone somewhere cracked and gave it to her. I know I shouldn't be calling, she said, almost whispering. I don't know who else to talk to. I didn't say anything. Let the silence do the talking for me. I'm not okay, she said. The baby's colicky. I haven't slept in 3 nights. I'm behind on rent. I can't do this alone. I could almost hear her trying not to cry. And part of me, some stupid, deep-rooted, Old part, wanted to ask if she was safe, if the baby was okay, if she had food. But I stayed silent, because I remembered what she did, what she said, what she destroyed. You chose this, I said finally. You torched the life we built. I made mistakes. No, Emma, I cut her off. You made decisions, over and over again. And now the consequences are calling you back. She didn't respond for a moment. Just another shaky breath. I thought I could fix it. I thought maybe, if I asked for help, you'd. You fired me, I snapped. You humiliated me in front of the board. You climbed into bed with men who laughed at me behind my back. You made sure I had nothing left to come home to. And now you want help? The line went dead silent. I'm not asking for money, she finally said. I'm just scared. I took a deep breath. You burned down the house and now you're cold. That's not my problem anymore. I ended the call. And then I sat there, staring at the wall, my heart pounding like I'd just run 10 miles. I wanted to feel nothing, but I didn't. I felt free, because I didn't hang up with guilt or sadness. I didn't question myself or wonder if I was being too cruel. For the first time in a long time, I felt clean, like I'd finally washed the last of her poison off my skin. People think revenge is loud, explosive, dramatic, but real revenge? It's calm. It's silence. It's picking up the phone and hanging up without a flicker of doubt. A few days later, I got another letter. From Madison this time. She said Emma was moving in with their estranged aunt downstate. Said she finally admitted Cole was never coming back, and her circle of friends vanished as soon as the money and spotlight faded. She wanted me to know Emma was alone. I already knew, because that's what happens when the mask finally slips. When people see the truth behind the smiles and curated posts, they scatter. And the same crowd she betrayed me for? Gone. As for me, I kept building. Quietly. Powerfully. No flashy headlines. No revenge tours. Just results. One investor called it the most surgical comeback he'd ever seen. I didn't correct him. He was right. Because I wasn't driven by rage anymore. I was driven by clarity. The clarity that comes when you stop trying to fix people who were never broken, just rotten. When you stop romanticizing loyalty to someone who would have watched you drown if it meant they got more legroom. Emma didn't break me. She revealed me. And now? Now I'm untouchable. It's strange how endings never come with fireworks. They come with silence. With peace. With mornings where you wake up and don't think about them first. With nights where your chest doesn't feel like it's carrying 1,000 pounds of betrayal. They come with laughter, real laughter, that doesn't feel borrowed or forced. And eventually, they come with a moment like this one, when you realize you've healed and didn't even notice when it happened. I stood on that same balcony overlooking the coast, the one I bought to start fresh. The breeze was crisp, the sky painted in soft oranges and fading gold. In my hand was a glass of bourbon, and in my chest, finally, was stillness. No anger, no longing, just me. The man who survived the kind of betrayal that shatters some people permanently. The man who was called lazy by the same woman who built her whole image on my work. The man who was fired, cheated on, humiliated, and stood back up taller. I thought I loved her. But what I really loved was the illusion. And when that illusion cracked, it revealed who I really was beneath it all. Stronger, sharper, untouchable. I didn't need closure from her. I didn't need apologies. I didn't need her child to have my eyes to validate what we had. Because what we had, it died long before she ever admitted it. Now, people ask me sometimes, do you miss her? I smile. Politely. No, I say. I miss who I was before she made me doubt myself. But I wouldn't trade the man I am now to go back. Because now I know what loyalty means. Now I know that trust isn't about giving someone your heart. It's about making damn sure they've earned it first. And if you're reading this, if you've ever been betrayed, used, lied to by someone you would have bled for, let me tell you something. You're not broken. You're waking up. One day, you'll thank them. Not for what they gave you, but for showing you exactly what you never want again. I raise my glass to that. To the pain that taught me. To the fire that forged me. To the woman who thought she ended me. And to the man who rose from her ashes. That's the real ending. Not the fall, but the rise. I never thought I'd hear my wife moan another man's name. But there it was. Through the crack in the hotel room door, I saw her, Madison, my wife of 6 years, straddling some guy, her nails digging into his shoulders, her voice dripping with lust. And the bastard? Logan. I recognized him instantly. He wasn't just some random guy. He was my friend. The betrayal hit me like a bullet to the chest. My breath caught, my fist clenched, and for a second, I thought I might black out. Then she said it. The words that burned themselves into my brain forever. If my husband ever found out, but he's too stupid for that. Laughter. His and hers. At me. Something inside me snapped. She thought I was stupid? She thought I'd never figure it out? She had no idea I was standing right outside the door. Watching. Listening. And she sure as hell had no idea what was coming next. 12 hours earlier. Madison had been acting off for weeks. Distant. Secretive. Guarding her phone like it held state secrets. Then last night, she came home late, reeking of cologne that wasn't mine. Relax, babe, she said, rolling her eyes. My body, my rules. I didn't argue. Didn't push. Just nodded. Let her think I was clueless. But that night, when she fell asleep, I checked her phone. And that's when I found them. The texts. The lies. The proof. And now? Now, I was about to make sure she paid for every single one. I didn't storm in. Not yet. I wanted her to dig herself deeper. I wanted to see just how low she'd sink, how easily the lies dripped from her lips. So I pulled back, heart slamming against my ribs, and left the hotel hallway. But I wasn't going home. Not yet. Instead, I waited. An hour later, they walked out of the hotel, hand in hand like some lovesick teenagers sneaking around. Madison was laughing, whispering something in his ear. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. They didn't even look around. They thought they were untouchable. I followed them to the parking lot, staying far enough behind that she wouldn't notice me. And then, right as she reached for the car door, I called her name. She froze. Slowly, she turned, her eyes going wide. Ethan? She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Logan tensed beside her, glancing between us, already realizing just how deep in S***T they were. I stepped closer. Go ahead, Madison. Tell me where you were tonight. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time, she had no lie ready. No snarky remark. No excuse. I waited. Then, like clockwork, the mask slipped back on. Her lips curled into a smirk, like she still had control. I don't owe you an explanation. I let out a short laugh, shaking my head. Oh, but you do. Her eyebrows arched. Really? My body, my rules, remember? I felt the heat rising in my chest, but I refused to give her the reaction she wanted. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. And then I pressed play. Her voice echoed in the silent parking lot. The recording of her in that hotel room, giggling, whispering, calling me stupid. Calling him by name. Logan took a step back. Madison, what the hell? She lunged for the phone, but I pulled it away. Don't, I warned, voice steady. You don't get to play the victim now. Her face twisted with anger. You spied on me? I almost laughed at the audacity. I caught you screwing my friend, Madison. I tilted my head. But sure. Let's talk about my trust issues. She crossed her arms. You're pathetic. Logan was already backing away, realizing his mistake. Dude, I turned to him. Don't. You're not a dude. You're a rat. He flinched. I took a deep breath and looked back at the woman I once thought I knew. The woman who had just thrown away everything we built together. You know what, Madison? I pocketed my phone. You're right. She smirked, thinking she won. Then I dropped the final bomb. My body, my rules. And I sure as hell won't be spending another second of my life with you. And with that, I walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless for the first time in her damn life. I didn't look back. Not when she called my name. Not when she shouted something about how I was overreacting. Not when Logan tried to mumble some excuse like a coward caught in the act. I just kept walking. But the second I got into my car, the adrenaline crashed. My hands trembled against the steering wheel. My pulse pounded in my ears. I should have felt relieved. Victorious, even. But all I felt was a deep, gnawing emptiness. 6 years. Gone in an instant. I sat there, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, staring at the dashboard like it held answers. The rage was still there, burning under my skin, but now something else mixed in. Something that felt a lot like grief. I replayed every moment in my head, every late night she worked late, every time she smiled at me like I was the only man in the world, every time she kissed me goodbye before running straight into another man's arms. How long had I been a joke to her? The thought made me sick. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. I almost ignored it. But then I saw the name. Madison. Of course. I let it ring. She called again. And again. Finally, a message popped up. We need to talk. Please. Talk? Now she wanted to talk? I exhaled sharply and tossed the phone onto the dashboard. There was nothing left to say. But I wasn't an idiot. She wasn't messaging out of guilt. She was messaging because she knew she was about to lose control. That was the thing about women like Madison. It wasn't about love. It was about winning. And she was about to lose. I started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot, driving nowhere in particular, just trying to breathe through the anger. But as I made it halfway home, something nagged at me. A question I hadn't let myself ask yet. Why Logan? She had 100 chances to cheat with some random guy, some stranger I'd never even know about. But she picked him. And that's when the pieces started clicking into place. This wasn't new. This wasn't some recent mistake. This had been happening for a long time. A fresh wave of rage flooded through me, gripping my chest like a vice. I wasn't done. Not yet. I made a sharp turn, tires screeching against the pavement. If Madison thought I was going to just disappear quietly, she was dead wrong. I drove straight past my house. There was no point in going back there, not when I knew every room would remind me of her. Of the lies. Of the years I wasted believing I had a faithful wife. Instead, I headed toward the one place I knew would give me answers, Logan's apartment. The drive was a blur, my thoughts running wild. How long had this been going on? How many times had he sat across from me, drinking my beer, pretending to be my friend while sneaking around with my wife? By the time I pulled up outside his building, my hands were steady again. My mind was clear. I wasn't going to let this go. I got out, walked straight to his door, and knocked. Hard. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Still nothing. Then I noticed something. His car wasn't in the driveway. He wasn't home. Coward. I clenched my jaw, trying to decide my next move when my phone buzzed again. Another message from Madison. Ethan, please just talk to me. She was panicking now. Good. I took a deep breath and typed out a response. Come home. Alone. We'll talk. I hit send and turned back toward my car, already knowing exactly how this conversation was going to go. By the time I got home, Madison's car was already in the driveway. She must have sped all the way here, desperate to fix the mess she created. I walked inside, and there she was, pacing in the living room, arms crossed, looking more frustrated than guilty. She spun around the second I stepped inside. Ethan, what the hell was that? You embarrassed me in front of Logan. I let out a sharp laugh. Embarrassed you? I stepped closer. Madison, I caught you cheating on me, and your biggest concern is how it made you look? She rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. I stared at her, waiting for something, remorse, regret, even an apology. But there was nothing. Just that same smug attitude like she had every right to do what she did. I shook my head. How long? Her brows furrowed. What? How? Long? My voice was low, controlled. She sighed, rubbing her temples like I was the one exhausting her. I don't know. A while. A while. I exhaled slowly, fighting the urge to punch a hole through the wall. I turned away, running a hand over my face. So all those nights you came home late? The last minute, girls' trips. The weekends I thought you were working. She cut me off. Oh, don't act like you're some perfect husband, Ethan. You were always so predictable. So boring. You never even noticed anything was wrong. I turned back, staring at her in disbelief. So this is my fault now? She shrugged. Maybe if you paid more attention, I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. I felt something inside me snap. I nodded slowly. Okay. She frowned. Okay, what? I grabbed my phone and pulled up the recording. The one from earlier in the hotel. The one where she called me stupid, where she laughed about how I'd never figure it out. I hit play. Her face drained of color. Ethan, stop. I turned up the volume. Logan's voice filled the room. He won't find out. Guys like him never do. Her jaw clenched. Turn it off. I did. But I wasn't finished. I scrolled down and sent the file to every single one of her family members. Her parents. Her sister. Even her boss. Her phone vibrated a second later. She grabbed it, eyes widening as she realized what I'd done. She looked up at me, her face finally showing real fear. You. I cut her off. My body. My rules, right? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time in our entire marriage, Madison had nothing to say. And that was the best damn feeling in the world. She stood there, gripping her phone, her fingers twitching over the screen as if she could somehow undo what had just happened. As if she could take back every lie, every betrayal, every time she snuck around behind my back. Her breathing was uneven now. Ethan, you didn't. I folded my arms and tilted my head. Oh, but I did. She looked at me like I had just destroyed her life. And maybe I had. But the thing was, she was the one who lit the fire. I just made sure she burned with it. Her phone kept buzzing, the notifications rolling in. She turned away, swiping frantically. Probably her family. Her boss. Maybe even Logan, the coward, trying to figure out if I'd sent it to his people too. Her voice was tight when she spoke. Do you have any idea what you've done? I let out a short laugh. Yeah, Madison. I took your advice. I stepped forward, voice low. My body, my rules. She swallowed hard. For the first time since I walked in, she looked afraid. Good. She started pacing, hands shaking now. I could almost hear her brain scrambling, trying to come up with some way to flip this, some way to manipulate me into thinking I was the bad guy. I wasn't falling for it. Not anymore. She stopped pacing and turned back to me, switching tactics. Her face softened, her eyes wide. Ethan. I was confused. I arched a brow. Confused. She nodded quickly, stepping closer, voice suddenly dripping with fake vulnerability. You have to understand. I never meant to hurt you. I felt like something was missing. Like we were drifting apart. I scoffed. So your solution was screwing my friend? She flinched. Just for a second. Then she took another step forward, reaching out to touch my arm. I didn't move. She dropped her voice to a whisper. We can fix this. I stared at her, then at her hand on my arm. Then I laughed. Not just a chuckle, a full, deep laugh from my chest. She blinked. What's so funny? I looked her dead in the eye. You still think I'd take you back? Her mouth opened slightly, like she actually believed I might. I shook my head, stepping back, pulling my keys from my pocket. You're not worth fixing, Madison. Her face twisted. First shock, then anger, then pure rage. She clenched her jaw. You're going to regret this. I smirked. No, Madison. The only regret here is that I didn't see through you sooner. She opened her mouth to say something else, but I was already turning away, walking toward the door. I didn't need to hear any more excuses, any more lies. I opened the door, stepped outside, and for the first time in years, I felt free. The cold night air hit me as I stepped outside, but it didn't chill me. It felt like the first deep breath I'd taken in years. The weight that had been crushing me, the lies, the doubt, the sickening feeling in my gut, was finally gone. Behind me, I could still hear Madison pacing inside, probably deciding whether to chase after me or smash something. I didn't care. I walked to my car, slid into the driver's seat, and just sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. I should have felt broken, devastated, wrecked, but I didn't, because I knew this wasn't a loss. It was an escape. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. I glanced at the screen. Another message from Madison. Come back inside. Let's talk. I stared at it for a second, then another. And then I did something I should have done a long time ago. I blocked her number. The second her name disappeared from my screen, a strange calm settled over me. Like cutting that last thread between us had finally given me back control. I started the engine and pulled out of the driveway without looking back. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I knew one thing for damn sure. Wherever I ended up, it would be far away from Madison and her lies. And for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. I drove without a destination, just letting the road stretch out in front of me, the city lights blurring past. The silence in the car wasn't empty, it was clean. No more second-guessing, no more wondering if I was crazy for suspecting her. The truth had set me free. I didn't feel sad. Not really. I felt lighter. As if I'd been dragging a dead weight for years and only now realized I could drop it. Eventually, I pulled into a gas station, needing a break. I got out, grabbed a drink from inside, and leaned against my car, watching people come and go. Regular people living regular lives, without betrayal and lies poisoning their every thought. My phone was quiet. No more calls. No more messages. It was over. I checked my bank app out of habit and saw that Madison had already started transferring money from our joint account. Predictable. I smirked and opened another app. My lawyer's number was already saved. She could take what she wanted from that account. I had already moved the important stuff. She had underestimated me. Again. By the time I got back into my car, something in me had settled. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. I pulled back onto the road, heading forward, towards something new. Towards something better. Madison had made one thing clear, my body, my rules. And from now on, I was the one making the damn rules. I kept driving, the hum of the engine steady, the city fading into the background. The more miles I put between myself and Madison, the clearer my mind became. She thought she broke me. She thought I'd crumble, beg, or maybe even lash out in some desperate attempt to win her back. She had no idea who she was dealing with. The old me, the fool who trusted too easily, who let love blind him, died the moment I heard her moan another man's name. The new me? He wasn't wasting another second on a woman who never deserved him in the first place. A notification popped up on my phone. A message from an unknown number. "We need to talk." I smirked. Madison, obviously. Desperate enough to try a different number. I blocked it without even opening the message. I didn't need to hear her excuses, her fake tears, or her twisted version of the truth. She was already erased from my life. Somewhere in the distance, the sun was rising. A new day, a clean slate. I cracked the window, letting the crisp morning air wash over me. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but for the first time in a long time, I was sure of one thing. I was never looking back. Her champagne glass was still in the air when she said it. "I'm pregnant with Nathan's baby." My wife, Madison, said that at my birthday dinner, with my family at the table. My mother gasped and nearly dropped her fork. My dad sat frozen, wine halfway to his lips. And Nathan, my golden boy brother, the one with the perfect jawline, the yacht, the trust fund, just stared at the table like he suddenly forgot how to breathe. Madison smiled, like she'd won something. She actually expected me to break. She thought I'd flip the table, cry, beg, or storm out. That I'd crumble in front of everyone like a weak little man who just got humiliated. But I didn't. Instead, I reached into my blazer, pulled out a folded paper, and calmly placed it on the table. "Funny you mentioned that," I said, "because I brought a little something too." I looked straight into her eyes. "Remember the fertility test you took last month? The one you lied about and said was for insurance." Her smile faded. "That paper says you've been infertile for the past 5 years." Silence. The entire room turned to ice. My mom's jaw dropped. Nathan's face turned to ash. And Madison? Her hand trembled as she reached for the paper like it might bite her. She scanned the results. Her face twisted. Her lips moved, but no words came. I stood and raised my glass. "To the best birthday I've ever had." That's when Madison lost it. "You set me up," she screamed. "You planned this whole thing, you manipulative son of a—" "Keep going," I said. "Everyone's listening." She threw her napkin, called me pathetic, said I was boring, predictable, that Nathan made her feel things I never could. And Nathan? He didn't defend her. He looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. I smiled, but inside I was burning. Because this wasn't the start of her betrayal. It was the end. She didn't know I'd been watching her for months. It started with little things. A second phone she kept buried in her purse. The way she flinched when I touched her shoulder if she was texting. How she suddenly needed space. How her gym sessions went from an hour to 3. She'd come home smelling like cologne I didn't wear. I'm not stupid. I just loved her too much at first to believe what was right in front of me. But love makes you blind, not deaf. And I heard the lies clearly. How she said she was going to meet a friend named Chloe, but Chloe posted an Instagram story from Cabo that same night. How she said her company had booked her a late meeting at the Hilton, but the front desk said there was no corporate booking that week. How she giggled like a teenager when Nathan came over and always sat too close, touched his arm, whispered things while looking at me. I saw the way his eyes followed her too. The way he laughed louder when she laughed. The way he'd smirk whenever I called her babe, like he knew something I didn't. I hired someone. A real professional. Not some sketchy guy in a hoodie, but a licensed investigator. He was worth every dollar. He got me photos, timestamps, hotel bills, video, them kissing in the back of her car, him walking out of her apartment at 2 a.m., and her smiling the next morning like she hadn't just spit on 6 years of marriage. But I waited, not out of fear, out of strategy. I waited for the right moment, when she'd feel safe, in control, cocky enough to gloat. That moment came tonight, on my birthday, surrounded by my entire family, when she stood up and announced her pregnancy like it was a wedding toast. Except I didn't fold. I flipped the script. And now, as her face crumbles in front of everyone, as she stammers half-truths and burns through every ounce of fake charm, I feel calm. Not happy, not angry, just done. Nathan finally speaks. His voice is tight, full of panic. "Madison, is it true? About the fertility thing? You told me you were ovulating." She turns on him so fast it almost makes me laugh. Oh, please, Nathan, she hisses. Don't act like a victim. You were in on this too. You wanted me. I didn't think it would go this far, he snaps. You said Adam didn't care about you anymore. She shrugs, her mask cracking. Well, he didn't. I look her dead in the eyes. You don't get to say what I felt. You don't get to rewrite everything just because it makes you feel better about being a fraud. She snarls. I gave you the best years of my life. No, I say coldly. You sold me those years, while renting your loyalty to someone with a better paycheck. My mother covers her mouth. My father lowers his head. The silence in the room is so dense, you can feel it pressing against your chest. Then Madison scoffs and grabs her bag. I'm done. This dinner's a disaster. I step aside. Door's right there. She walks out, muttering insults under her breath like some cheap villain in a soap opera. Nathan follows, but slower, like he suddenly realized he's not the star of the show anymore. Before he reaches the door, I call out. By the way, Nate, you should probably get tested. She's been seeing a guy named Travis too. Bartender at her gym. His spine stiffens. That one hit home. After they leave, nobody speaks. My birthday cake sits untouched on the table. Candles burn down to waxy nubs. The air is thick with awkward sympathy. But I don't need their pity. I just need the truth. And now, I finally have it. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of sadness. Not even anger. Just stillness. The kind that follows a storm, when the wreckage is too fresh to process. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the empty closet where Madison used to hang her chaos. Her perfume still lingered in the air, artificial and sharp. Like everything else about her. My phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m. Nathan. I didn't answer. A minute later, a text. Man, I didn't know about Travis. I swear. Like that was the part that offended him. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. Just that someone else might have been sleeping with his stolen woman. I put the phone down and walked into the kitchen. Poured a glass of water. Stared out the window at the streetlight flickering like a warning. And that's when it hit me. The part no one tells you about betrayal. It's not the knife that kills you. It's the realization that you handed it to them. I trusted her. I defended her when friends raised eyebrows. I ignored red flags like a fool because I believed that love could fix anything. But love can't fix a liar. It just gives them a better alibi. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Told him I wanted the paperwork ready within 48 hours. He didn't ask questions. Just said, I'll make it clean. Later that day, Madison came back. She didn't knock. She still had a key. I was in the garage, boxing up old tools when I heard the front door open. Adam. Her voice, suddenly soft. Like honey with poison mixed in. I didn't answer. She found me stacking boxes, tried to act like it was a normal Wednesday. I just came to get some stuff, she said. Didn't think you'd be here. I kept stacking. You think a lot of things that aren't true. She flinched. Okay, look. About last night. I turned to face her. Her makeup was minimal, her eyes red. Not from remorse. From consequence. You humiliated me in front of my family, I said. Lied about a pregnancy. Lied about loving me. Slept with my brother. Then played the victim. I made mistakes, she whispered. No. You made choices. Silence. Then she tried the angle I expected. Tears welled up. She stepped closer. I lost control, okay? I was lonely. You were always working. Always distant. You cheated, Madison. Not once. Not twice. With multiple men. And you're standing here blaming me for it. Her voice rose. I was trying to find myself. No. You were trying to escape yourself. She went quiet. Then, suddenly, she snapped. You know what? Screw this. You act like you're some noble saint. But you were never man enough for me. You just wore the costume, husband, provider, good guy, but underneath, you were empty. That one landed. But I didn't show it. I just stepped aside and pointed to the hallway. Your things are in the guest room. You have 10 minutes. She laughed bitterly. You think you're going to come out of this clean? Everyone's talking, Adam. Your family is shattered. You destroyed your own birthday like a drama queen. Maybe, I said. But at least I didn't destroy my marriage with my own ego. She glared at me, but I could see it. Beneath the fury, the cracks were spreading. The performance was crumbling. And for the first time, she looked scared. As she walked away, I noticed something in her bag. A small silver frame. Our wedding photo. I didn't say a word. Let her keep it. Let her look at it every time she needs to remember what she had and what she burned. She left without another word. The door slammed behind her, but it didn't echo. Because this house finally felt quiet. 2 days passed. I didn't hear from her. Not directly. But Madison had a way of polluting every space she used to touch. Her fingerprints were still all over the house. The wine glasses she only pretended to clean. The stupid crystal bowl she said she had to have, but never used. The expensive blanket she bought for the aesthetic, not warmth. Everything was artificial. Just like her. I got a call from my mom. She didn't mention the dinner. Or the affair. She just said, "Your father's not sleeping. Nathan hasn't shown his face." And I keep thinking maybe this isn't real. "It is," I said. "All of it." She went quiet. Then softly, "You okay?" I wanted to lie. Say I was. That I'd moved on. But I wasn't. Not really. "I'm breathing," I said. "That's something." Later that night, I walked past my bedroom and caught sight of an old shoebox under the bed. Inside were photos. Dozens of them. Vacations, Christmases, lazy Sundays. Madison's smile in every one, bright and rehearsed. But it was the ones of me that stopped me cold. Because in those pictures, I wasn't smiling with my eyes. I looked tired. Faded. Like someone trying to deserve love that never existed. That was the most brutal part of it all. Not that she betrayed me, but that I bent myself into shapes to be worthy of someone who was never real to begin with. The next day, the papers were ready. I didn't tell her I'd filed. She found out on her own. She showed up at my office. Not the house. Bold move. My assistant buzzed me. "There's a woman here. Says it's urgent." I stepped into the hallway, and there she was, leaning against the wall like she hadn't just nuked my life. "Did you seriously file?" she asked, arms crossed, eyes already defensive. "I told you I would." She scoffed. "No warning? No discussion?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "Now you want discussion?" I thought maybe we could try to fix it. I looked her up and down. "Are you pregnant or not?" Silence. That told me everything. "Yeah," I nodded. "Didn't think so." She stepped forward, that manipulative softness creeping back into her voice. "Adam, look, we were broken long before Nathan. We were pretending. I just acted on it first." "You acted like a monster," I said. She bit her lip, like she was debating which role to play next. The victim, the temptress, the regretful wife. I didn't give her the chance. "You cheated. Lied. Used me. Then tried to break me publicly. I didn't want to hurt you. But you did. Over and over. And you enjoyed it." She blinked, stunned I'd say it out loud. Like she expected me to still shield her from truth. I leaned closer. "You don't get to be part of my life anymore, Madison. You're not the main character here. You're just the storm that passed." That finally shut her up. She left. No goodbye. A part of me waited for the elevator doors to reopen. For her to come back with some explosive twist or last desperate attempt at control. But she didn't. She was gone. And for the first time in what felt like years, I could actually breathe. A week later, I got a message from Nathan. Just his name lighting up my phone made my blood itch. "Can we talk?" I stared at it for 10 full minutes. My thumb hovered over the screen. Part of me wanted to tell him to go to hell. Another part, the stupid, loyal, older brother part, wanted to hear what he had to say. I replied with 2 words. 10 minutes. He showed up an hour later. Typical. He looked like hell. Dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, shirt wrinkled like he slept in his car. He stood on my porch like a kid who just crashed the family car and didn't know how to fix it. I opened the door, didn't say a word, and walked back inside. If he wanted to beg, he'd have to work for it. He followed me in, hesitated in the living room. "You gonna punch me?" I shrugged. "Depends on what comes out of your mouth." He sat down on the edge of the couch. "I messed up, man. No kidding. I didn't mean for it to get serious with her." "You mean Madison?" I said. "Use her name. Don't protect her with words like it." He winced. "Madison, you knew she was my wife. That wasn't a mystery. She wore my ring, sat at my family table, and you still went for her." He rubbed his face. "She came onto me first." I snapped. "Don't do that. Don't play the weak little brother. You're a grown man. With options. But you chose mine." I wasn't thinking. "No, you were thinking with something else." He flinched, silent. "Let me guess," I continued. "She told you I was cold. Boring. That I didn't touch her anymore. That she felt invisible." He looked up, shocked. "How'd you know?" I smirked. "Because it's exactly what she told me when she was cheating on her ex. You just inherited her script." Nathan sank into the couch like he was folding in on himself. "She lied to both of us," he whispered. She didn't lie, I said. She sold. Madison sells stories. Sells affection. Sells guilt. And you? You bought it. He nodded, quiet. Then he looked at me. Do you hate me? I thought about it. No, I said. Hating you would mean I still care. That cut deeper than a punch ever could. He stood up, slowly. I'll stay away. From you. From Mom. From all of it. That's your choice. He paused at the door. Are you gonna be okay? I already am. He left. And just like that, both of them, the woman who lied to me and the brother who betrayed me, were out of my life. The silence they left behind wasn't empty. It was clean. I finally started living without second-guessing, without checking phone logs, without wondering why she smiled at someone else's texts but rolled her eyes at mine. I wasn't healed yet, but for the first time in years, I wasn't bleeding anymore. 2 months passed. The divorce finalized quietly. No courtroom drama, no dramatic scenes, just a signature, a notary stamp, and the cold, legal disconnection of two lives that once swore to grow old together. Madison didn't contest anything. She didn't want the house, didn't ask for spousal support. She just walked away like she was late for a flight to someone else's ruin. I didn't see her again, but I heard things. She moved in with a new guy, not Nathan, not Travis either. Someone older, richer, a businessman, according to a mutual friend. Apparently, he had a boat. That made sense. Madison always needed a new ride when the last one broke down. One night, I came home to find the wedding album on the kitchen counter. I hadn't seen it since the split. I never kept it out. I would have sworn it was in storage. I opened it. A note fell out. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I did love you once, even if I was too broken to show it. No envelope. No return address. Just that. I stared at the words like they might rearrange into something that made sense. Like maybe I'd find a sliver of the woman I married buried in the handwriting. But all I felt was nothing. It was like hearing an echo of a song you used to love, only now it sounded off-key and hollow. The next morning, I burned the album in the fire pit out back, 1 page at a time. Watching our smiling faces curl into ash was strangely peaceful. About a week later, I ran into Chloe, Madison's old best friend. The one she always said was jealous of our marriage. Chloe didn't look surprised to see me. Hey, she said gently. I heard. I nodded. She stepped closer. You know, she used to brag about how perfect you were. Said you were too good for this world. That you'd do anything for her. I raised an eyebrow. And yet, she cheated. Chloe sighed. Madison didn't want perfect. She wanted chaos she could control. We stood in silence for a moment. Then she looked up at me, eyes honest. She was never afraid to lose you. She was afraid you'd figure out she didn't deserve you. That stayed with me. Because that's what it was, wasn't it? Madison had been playing with house money, bluffing through a life she never intended to protect. And when I called her bluff, she folded. Eventually, people stopped asking what happened. Friends picked sides, as they always do. A few stayed. Most didn't. The ones who mattered did. But the most unexpected thing was how many men reached out quietly. Old coworkers, gym buddies, even my cousin. They all had stories. Of being betrayed. Of losing themselves trying to keep a woman happy who was only ever feeding off their peace. It made me realize I wasn't alone. Just the latest chapter in a bigger, dirtier book. One night, I sat on the porch alone, sipping whiskey, the sky heavy with stars. And I started to smile. Not because I was glad it happened, but because it ended. Because sometimes, the best thing a fire can do is burn down the lies and leave you standing in truth. I started sleeping again. Not the shallow kind of sleep I used to fake when she'd come home late and crawl into bed smelling like hotel soap and someone else's cologne. I mean real sleep. The kind where your body forgets to be tense, where your brain isn't playing mental chess at 3 a.m., trying to decode lies dressed up as excuses. My mornings were quiet now. Just black coffee, sunlight through the blinds, and no high heels clacking down the hallway pretending to be busy. No forced small talk. No lingering lipstick stains on wine glasses she never finished. One morning, I went through the attic and pulled out a box labeled Madison's junk. Inside were old receipts, birthday cards she never gave me, notebooks half filled with dramatic quotes about living unapologetically. The kind of stuff people post on Instagram to excuse being selfish. I laughed once, then closed the box and left it by the curb. An hour later, it was gone, picked clean by someone else. Probably just trash to them, which was fitting, Because that's all it had become to me, too. I started seeing a therapist. Just once a week. I told him everything. From the moment I met Madison, to the dinner, to the test results, to the scream she let out when I told her she was infertile, and the whole room realized she'd lied with her whole chest. He didn't say much that first session. Just nodded and said, "You're not grieving her. You're grieving the version of yourself you were when you still believed her lies." That hit harder than I expected. Because it was true. I'd been mourning the man who used to give her his last slice of pizza, who worked weekends to take her on stupid anniversary trips, who kept believing she was just going through a phase, not unraveling everything behind my back. That man was gone, and maybe that was a good thing. One afternoon, I stopped by my parents' house. My mom hugged me tighter than usual, like she was afraid I might still break. "You look different," she said, stepping back. "Better or worse?" "Like you finally woke up." Nathan wasn't there. I didn't ask. I didn't care. My father shook my hand like he wanted to say something more, but didn't. We just sat in the backyard watching the dog dig holes Madison used to scold him for. Even the dog seemed happier. Later that night, I got a DM. From Travis. Yeah, that Travis, the gym guy. Bartender. One of Madison's many experiments. The message was short. "Hey man, I didn't know she was married. I swear. She told me you were her ex. That you hit her." I backed off as soon as I found out. I stared at the screen. Not angry. Just tired. Because of course she lied to him too. Of course she played the victim again. Of course she weaponized her own mistakes to paint herself as the one needing rescue. I didn't reply. What was there to say? He was just another name on the list of people she used and discarded like old shoes. I put my phone down and went for a walk. The air was cold, clean. I passed couples walking hand in hand. A kid riding a bike with training wheels. A man watering his lawn in pajamas. It all felt calm, like a world I'd been watching from the outside was slowly letting me back in. And that's when it finally hit me. I wasn't rebuilding. I was starting from scratch. And I had no intention of ever letting someone like her back into the new version of my life. The moment her tears hit the picnic table, I knew I wasn't crazy. I'd been gaslit for months, maybe years. But this was the moment of truth. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I just handed her the brown envelope like it was a birthday card, and I watched her soul evacuate through her eyes. We were at our backyard barbecue. Burgers sizzling, kids laughing, my mom making her dry-ass potato salad again. And there was Emily, my wife of 5 years, pouring lemonade like the perfect mother and smiling like the world's most innocent little angel. Only she wasn't. That smile? Pure performance. Inside that envelope was a file from a private investigator. DNA test results. Surveillance photos. And one brutally clear truth. The twins weren't mine. They were my brother Dylan's. Yeah, my damn brother. The same guy who stayed in our guest room for 6 months while he figured things out after his divorce. The same guy who always gave my wife those side hugs that lasted a little too long. And now? He wasn't just Uncle Dylan. He was Daddy Dylan. I saw her hands tremble before she even opened the folder. She tried to keep her face still, but it cracked in real time. The way her eyes darted around, scanning who was watching. She glanced at my mother, then at the twins, then at me. And then the waterworks came, not the kind that make you feel sympathy. The kind that expose a lie that's been buried deep and rotting. "Nick," she whispered, like she was going to say something soft, something human. But I was done giving her the benefit of the doubt. I leaned in close so no one else would hear. "You cry now, Emily? Cry later. Just don't pretend you're the victim here. Open the damn folder." And she did. There was no need to read every page. The paternity test was bolded, highlighted, stapled, hell, probably laminated. Dylan's name was right there, 99.9999% match. She closed the folder and looked up at me like I'd just run over her dog. Like I was the one who did something wrong. "I can explain," she stuttered. But I didn't want to hear it. Not now. Not here. Not while my entire family was 5 feet away flipping steaks and sipping beer. So I smiled. I nodded. I took a big sip of my drink and whispered again. "Good. You'll have your chance. But not here. I want you to lie to my face when it's just us. I want to see how far down this ****ing rabbit hole you're willing to crawl." I stood up and tapped my glass with a fork like I was making a toast. "To family," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "To loyalty, honesty, and the truth finally coming out." A few people chuckled, clinking their glasses like it was a normal toast. Emily didn't. She just sat there with her mouth clamped shut and her hands frozen over that damn envelope. I watched my brother across the yard, grilling hot dogs like he hadn't just detonated my life. Oblivious. Or maybe confident I wouldn't find out. He looked up at me and smiled. Raised a bun in salute. I smiled back. Dead inside. Because here's the truth. I knew for a while something was off. The twins didn't look like me. I told myself it was recessive genes. I told myself I was being paranoid. That I worked too much. That I was projecting. But there were signs. Emily's mood swings. The way she flinched when I mentioned Dylan. The way she never let me go through her phone. Always flipped it face down. The late-night runs to pick up medicine. The lingering perfume after she came back from yoga. Dylan's cologne mixed in. But I hadn't expected this level of betrayal. Not from my own blood. I went inside, closed the bathroom door, and looked at myself in the mirror. My hands were shaking. My jaw was clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. I should have screamed. Punched a wall. Something. But I didn't. I washed my face, came back out, and played the part of the clueless husband just a little longer. Because this was just the opening act. The real show was about to begin. The barbecue was over. My mom packed up the leftovers. The kids were asleep upstairs, and Dylan was long gone. Emily stood by the sink, clutching the counter like it might collapse beneath her. I watched her from the doorway. Her back was tense, unmoving, as if turning around might confirm that the truth had shattered everything. You gonna start with, it was a mistake, or jump straight to, it meant nothing? I asked flatly. She slowly turned. Her eyes were still glassy, but now the tears had dried, replaced with a sort of defensive panic. Nick, please. Just listen. You have to let me explain. I nodded. Go ahead. Lie to me. One last time. She winced like I slapped her, but she earned that line. She swallowed hard and said, it only happened once. I swear. It was that night we had the big fight, when you stormed out and stayed at your brother's for 2 days. I was drunk. He was here. It was stupid. I stared at her for a second. Then I let out a quiet laugh. You expect me to believe that? I said, shaking my head. Emily, I was at Dylan's that night. Silence. Her mouth dropped open, just a little. Then she closed it and looked away. Her brain was already scrambling for a rewrite. I gave her the time. Oh, no. I mean, the next night. I forgot. You forgot. I stepped closer. Emily, you forgot when you ed my brother and made twins? I didn't know they were his. She blurted, too fast, too loud. So it was more than once, I said, voice low and calm. And there it was. The slip. The crack in the lie. She sat down at the kitchen table and buried her face in her hands. Nick, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You were always gone. You were married to your job, to your schedule. I was lonely. Dylan was here all the time, and he made me feel seen. Seen? I hissed. Emily, he's my brother, not a backup husband. You don't get it. No, I cut her off. You don't get it. I built this house. I gave you everything. I worked my ass off to provide for this family. And while I was out there killing myself for us, you were in here screwing my blood. And then lying to my face. Smiling like nothing was wrong. You let me raise his kids. The last sentence broke something inside me. Saying it out loud made it real. All those nights I kissed them goodnight, helped with homework, taught them how to ride bikes, thinking they were mine. My sons. Emily reached out across the table. Nick, they're yours. You're their father. Biology doesn't matter. You're the one who's been there. I pulled my hand away like she was poison. Don't you dare say that. Don't try to spin this into some kind of emotional card trick. You stole 5 years of fatherhood from me. You let me believe a lie. She started crying again, quieter this time, not the performative kind from earlier. But I'd seen enough. I stood up. Don't bother sleeping in the bedroom tonight. Where are you going? She asked, her voice cracking. To the truth, I said. Something you clearly lost touch with years ago. As I grabbed my keys, she called out behind me, you're going to destroy everything if you keep going down this road. I paused at the door. Emily, you already did. I stepped into the night air, got in the car, and just drove. Nowhere in particular. I didn't need a destination. I needed distance. My mind was spiraling, but one thing was clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. If she thought she could lie her way out of this, she had no idea who I'd become since I opened that folder. The storm had just begun. I didn't sleep that night. I drove for hours, ending up in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner I hadn't seen since college. The same one where I once brought Emily on our second date. Back when things were simple. Before the lies, before the fake smiles, before my own brother stuck a knife in my back and called it an accident. I sat there, engine off, phone in hand, staring at Dylan's name in my contacts. My thumb hovered over it for 10 minutes before I finally pressed call. He picked up on the second ring. Yo, what's up, bro? His voice was chipper. Innocent. Like he didn't just torch my whole life. Meet me. Now. We need to talk, I said coldly. There was a pause. Nick, is everything okay? Do I sound okay? I snapped. I know, Dylan. I know everything. Another pause. Longer. Then the line went dead. That was answer enough. By the time I got back to the house, he was already waiting on the porch. Sitting on the swing like it was just another Saturday morning. Hoodie on. Coffee in hand. The audacity. Hey, man, he said quietly as I stepped out of the car. I didn't say anything. I just stared at him, and he stood up. Look, I guess you found out, he started, eyes down. I didn't want it to go like this. You didn't want it to go like this? I barked, stepping closer. You moved into my house. You sat at my table. You high-fived me while you were screwing my wife. You played uncle to your own kids, Dylan. He raised his hands, voice rising. I never meant for it to go that far, all right? It started as a one-time thing and Don't, I growled. Do not feed me that same garbage line she used. It only happened once. Bull asterisk 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 asterisk. There are 2 kids in there calling me daddy, and they've got your face. Dylan dropped his head like a guilty teenager. I didn't know until recently. I swear. She told me a month ago she thought they might be mine. I didn't even want to believe her. You should have told me the moment you suspected, I said. But you kept quiet. You let me keep living a lie. He looked up, finally meeting my eyes. Because I didn't want to lose you. I laughed, bitter and hollow. You lost me the second you unzipped your pants in my home. Don't act like this was some accident. You had a choice. You made it. Over and over again. He didn't answer. I took a step back and looked at him, really looked at him. This was my brother. My flesh and blood. The guy I grew up playing baseball with, the one who stood next to me on my wedding day, the one who held my newborn twins while I wept from joy. Now, all I saw was a coward in a hoodie. Do you love her? I asked, hating the words even as they left my mouth. He hesitated. That was all I needed. I didn't punch him. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But a punch would have been too easy for him. Too forgiving. What I had in mind would last longer. You've got 24 hours, I said coldly. Pack up. Leave town. If you stay anywhere near my family after this, I will make your life hell. You don't get to be around those kids anymore. Not after what you did. His jaw clenched. They're my sons. No, I snapped. They're my victims. Just like me. Just like everyone else you lied to. I turned and walked back toward the house. I didn't look back. If I did, I might not have stopped myself from breaking his damn nose. When I stepped inside, the silence was heavy. Emily wasn't in the kitchen. The envelope still sat on the counter, taunting me like a monument to betrayal. The twins were asleep upstairs, blissfully unaware. And I was no longer the man I was yesterday, because now I knew the truth. And I was done playing nice. When I walked back into the house, the lights were dim, and the air felt heavier than before, like betrayal had a scent, and it had soaked into the walls. I heard soft footsteps from the hallway, and there she was. Emily, wearing one of my old hoodies, looking like she belonged in a Hallmark movie instead of a crime scene. She looked at me like she'd just seen a ghost. Maybe she had. I wasn't the same man who grilled burgers yesterday, playing happy husband. That guy was dead. I heard you talking to Dylan, she said carefully, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't answer. I walked straight to the kitchen, opened the fridge, grabbed a water bottle, and stood there with the door open like the cold could freeze the rage inside me. I'm sorry, she added quickly. I know that means nothing now, but I am. I wish I could take it all back. I turned and stared at her. You're not sorry for what you did, I said slowly. You're sorry I found out. She blinked. Her face twitched. That's not true. It is. You lied every day for 5 years. You made me feel like I was crazy every time I noticed something off. You let me carry those boys, love them, protect them, and you knew there was a chance they weren't mine. I didn't know for sure, she snapped, the first flicker of her real self coming through. I suspected, okay, but I couldn't. You couldn't what? I interrupted. Tell me the truth? Give me the respect I gave you every single day of our marriage. She started to cry again, but this time, I didn't care. I was done falling for the waterworks. I'd seen her turn tears on and off like a faucet too many times. I was scared, Nick, she whispered. I didn't know what to do. You knew how to do him, though, didn't you? I shot back. Her head jerked like I slapped her. That's not fair. Fair. I scoffed. You cheated with my brother, Emily. Fair left this relationship the moment you spread your legs in our guest room. She opened her mouth, probably to fire back, but I raised a hand. Don't say another word unless it's the truth. The whole truth. I want dates. I want details. I want to know exactly when you decided our marriage was optional. She looked at the floor. It started 3 years ago. That hit me like a brick. 3 years, I echoed. So you've been lying to my face for 3 whole years, letting me tuck in his sons and call them mine? She nodded silently, eyes locked on the floor like it had answers. And it didn't just happen once, did it? She shook her head. No. I laughed, one of those cold, hollow laughs that don't feel real. Of course not. We stopped a year ago, she said quickly, like that detail would somehow save her. I ended it. I told him it was a mistake and that it couldn't go on. I swear. Oh, well, in that case, I said sarcastically, let me go order us a cake and celebrate your moral recovery. She flinched. I should have left the moment I started doubting you, I continued. But I wanted to believe the best in you. I thought maybe I was just being paranoid, that I was imagining things. You played that perfectly, didn't you? Gaslighting me every step of the way. I wasn't trying to hurt you, she said through gritted teeth. I was lost. You were never here. Always working, always distracted. I needed someone. Dylan was there. So your loneliness gave you a free pass to screw my brother? I snapped. You didn't try talking to me. You didn't ask for therapy. You just went straight to betrayal. I made a mistake, she said, trying to hold back tears again. No, Emily, I said firmly. You made choices. Over and over again. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. We stood in silence for a moment. The air between us crackled with the electricity of everything unsaid. Everything broken. You're not staying here, I finally said. You can pack your things and go to your sister's. Or your mom's. I don't care. But you're out of this house tonight. And the kids? She asked, her voice suddenly shaking. I stared at her with ice in my veins. We'll talk about them later. When I decide if I'm going to keep raising your lies. She gasped like I punched her, but I didn't blink. I'd been betrayed by the only woman I ever truly loved, and I wasn't about to let her stay one more night under my roof. She packed in silence. No crying, no screaming, no final manipulations. Maybe even she knew there were no more cards to play. Or maybe she was just too stunned to realize the walls were actually closing in this time. I sat on the couch the whole time, motionless, watching the ghost of my wife carry folded shirts and jeans into a suitcase like it was just a weekend trip. But it wasn't a weekend trip. It was exile. The kids were still asleep upstairs. I didn't know how I was going to tell them. How do you tell 2 little boys that their mom isn't who she says she is, and their uncle might be their actual father? How do you unwind that kind of lie without breaking everything else? Emily zipped up the suitcase and paused at the front door. She looked at me like she wanted to say something, maybe a last excuse, maybe some version of, I still love you, that would ring hollow even if it were true. I'll come back tomorrow to get the rest of my stuff, she muttered. You'll come back when I'm not here, I corrected. I'll leave the garage code on for one day. After that, don't step foot in this house again without a lawyer. Her lip twitched, just for a second. Then she nodded. No fight. No dramatic monologue. Just silence. She grabbed her keys and walked out the door. But what she left behind wasn't just a trail of shattered promises and broken trust. No. Emily took something more valuable with her. Peace. The silence after she left wasn't relief. It was sharp. Empty. Echoing. Like the house itself knew something was missing. I walked into the twins' room. They were sprawled out across their beds, soft snores filling the space. Completely innocent. And completely unaware of the hurricane their mom had unleashed. One of them, Luke, stirred a little and mumbled, Daddy, without even opening his eyes. Yeah, buddy, I whispered. I'm here. And somehow, that broke me more than anything else. I sat on the floor between their beds, staring up at the ceiling, trying to understand how my life turned into this mess. I gave everything to that woman. Everything. And in return, she gave my brother something I never even realized he wanted, my life. My role. My trust. I didn't sleep that night. Again. By morning, the plan was forming in my head. Not revenge. Not yet. But strategy. I couldn't just burn the whole world down, at least not until I had answers. Real ones. I texted my lawyer at 7:02 a.m. Need to talk. Urgent. Divorce, custody, and paternity. Call me ASAP. He responded in 2 minutes. Be at my office at 9. At 8:50, I was already in the parking lot. Sitting across from Robert Clay, the man who handled our mortgage contracts 5 years ago and was now about to help me unravel the life that mortgage built, I felt strange. Like I was watching myself from the outside. Paternity first, I told him. I want full testing on both boys. I don't care what Emily says. I want court-verified, certified results. If there's a 1% chance those boys are not biologically mine, I want to know. He nodded, taking notes. And custody? If they are mine, I said carefully, I'm going for full custody. I don't want her manipulating them the way she manipulated me. And if they're not? I don't know yet. Robert looked up, surprised. You'd walk away? I hesitated. I don't want to. But I need to know if I've been living a lie, or just part of one. We talked for over an hour, custody rights, DNA laws, infidelity clauses, and prenups. I was tired, raw, running on caffeine and pure anger. But I was focused. For the first time in days, I had control. And that's when the next gut punch landed. As I walked out of Robert's office, I got a message from an unknown number. You're not the only one who knows things, Nick. Be careful what you dig up. I stopped cold. The number was unlisted. No name. No clue. But the message was clear. Someone didn't want the truth getting out. And that meant one thing. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was bigger. Dirtier. And I just kicked the lid off a much deeper hole. I stared at the message on my screen for a full minute, standing there in the parking lot like someone had just whispered a death sentence in my ear. You're not the only one who knows things, Nick. Be careful what you dig up. It wasn't fear that hit me first. It was confusion. Then fury. And then this cold, calculated part of my brain woke up, the same part that ran my business, the same part that kept my family afloat while Emily played house with my brother. Whoever sent that message didn't know me very well. Because if they thought a vague little threat would stop me, they just made the biggest mistake of their life. I got into the car, locked the doors, and opened the file folder again. I scanned through the investigator's documents, phone records, paternity test results, timestamped photos. All legit. Nothing in there hinted at anything beyond the affair. So what the hell was I digging up? That night, after putting the boys to bed, I sat in my office, eyes locked on my laptop. I reopened the folder the PI had sent me digitally. There were several subfolders I hadn't fully explored, labeled by date. One of them was marked simply, Cam footage, December 3rd. My stomach dropped. December 3rd. That was the night Emily told me she was out with her sister, helping her pick out a dress for some wedding. She came home late, cheeks flushed, with this cheap perfume that didn't smell like hers. Said they went to a wine bar after shopping. I didn't even question it. Back then, I still trusted her. I clicked the folder. Inside were 3 short video clips. Grainy security cam footage from the outside of a motel. No audio. Just silent betrayal. First clip. 9:12 p.m. Dylan's car pulls up. Emily gets out from the passenger side. Second clip. 9:57 p.m. They leave, both laughing, arms wrapped around each other like teenagers. Third clip. 10:03 p.m. They stop by Dylan's trunk. He opens it. She pulls out a small box. Then they both look around, cautious, before driving off. I leaned in. What the hell was in that box? I rewound the clip. Paused. Zoomed. It wasn't just a box. It looked like some kind of lockbox. Metal. Heavy. She cradled it like it mattered. Like it meant something. Why would they be moving something like that? I sat back in my chair, heart pounding, questions multiplying. I picked up my phone and texted the private investigator. What was in the trunk on December 3rd? Box she took. What's in it? He responded in less than a minute. Already looked into it. Box is gone. No motel records. She paid cash. No name. No camera inside. But we're still digging. Still digging. That phrase suddenly had a lot more weight. I scrolled back to the threat. Be careful what you dig up. Someone else was watching. Someone outside of just Emily and Dylan. And I just stuck my foot into something that went deeper than betrayal. What if this wasn't just about the affair? What if that box wasn't filled with lingerie or wine bottles or whatever romantic crap people sneak into cheap motel rooms? What if it was evidence? Blackmail? Money? Something criminal? And what if Emily wasn't just some cheating wife, but a willing participant in something darker? My hands were cold as I typed the next message to the investigator. I want surveillance on Dylan. Full time. And Emily too. I want to know where they go, who they talk to, what they carry. Everything. Assume they're both hiding more than just an affair. He responded instantly. Got it. Starting tonight. I sat there in silence, my whole body buzzing. Not from the betrayal. That part was already scorched into me. No, this was something else. That feeling you get when you realize the ground you're standing on might not be solid anymore. That your wife didn't just break your heart, she might be dragging you into something that could break your life. I checked on the twins one more time before heading to bed. They were still asleep, breathing soft and slow. I kissed their foreheads and whispered, I'll protect you. Even if it's from your own mother. I didn't sleep, because this story had stopped being about love and betrayal. Now it was about truth, survival, and the kind of secrets that people kill to keep buried. The next morning hit like a hangover I hadn't earned. I hadn't slept. I couldn't. My head was a war zone of half-finished thoughts and flashing images. Emily's arms around Dylan, that metal box, the motel, the thread on my phone. And now, something new, my private investigator's message, blinking on my screen at 6:43 a.m. We followed her last night. You're going to want to see this. The video was short, just over 4 minutes. It started with Emily's car pulling up behind a seedy little strip mall on the east side, the kind of place where businesses don't even bother fixing burnt-out neon signs. She wasn't alone. A man was already there, waiting. It wasn't Dylan. Tall, slim, face mostly hidden by a hoodie and a baseball cap. But the way Emily greeted him, she knew him, hugged him like an old friend. Or worse. They talked for a while. The footage had no audio, but it didn't need it. He gave her an envelope. She gave him a USB drive. A USB drive. Who the hell trades flash drives behind buildings? This wasn't cheating anymore. This was something else. After the exchange, they shook hands. She got back in her car and drove off. The man didn't. He walked around the back of the building and disappeared through a side door. My PI followed him, but the building had multiple exits. They lost him. I stared at the screen. My chest felt like it was being crushed in a vice. Emily hadn't just betrayed our marriage. She'd built another life, one with shady exchanges, secret meetings, and people I didn't even recognize. I called the investigator immediately. Who was the guy? We're running facial recognition now, he said. But the fact she met him without Dylan? That means there's more going on than we thought. She's running her own play. I hung up and just sat there, numb. There's a special kind of madness that comes when you realize the person you thought you knew better than anyone has been living a double life. Emily wasn't just unfaithful. She was calculated, strategic, playing everyone, including Dylan. I pulled out the folder again, trying to piece the puzzle together. Dates, movements, locations. Something had to click. Then I saw it. A small receipt tucked in the back. Not from the PI. From the mail. I remembered it now. It came a few days ago. I tossed it aside because it was addressed to Emily, not me. But I never threw it away. Storage unit rental. Unit number 311, Sunrise Storage, 2 towns over. Rented 3 months ago. Paid in full for 6 months. I don't know why I hadn't noticed it before, but now it screamed at me like a warning siren. At 2 p.m. that afternoon, I drove to Sunrise Storage. No plan. No backup. Just fury and curiosity riding shotgun. The front desk clerk barely looked up. Unit 311? You have the key. I nodded, holding up the spare I'd found taped under Emily's bathroom drawer earlier that morning. God bless her predictability. The hallway to Unit 311 felt like a tunnel leading to another version of my life, the one where I wasn't a husband, but a fool. A pawn. I unlocked the door, rolled it up. Inside was a mess of boxes, bags, and a small desk. But what caught my eye first? The safe. It sat on a metal shelf, half covered with a towel. I ripped the towel off and stared at the keypad. No keyhole. Just numbers. Digital. I tried the twins' birthdays. Nothing. Our anniversary. Nothing. Her birthday. Still nothing. I stood back, breathing hard, hands shaking. Then I saw it, taped to the bottom of the desk, a yellow sticky note with smudged ink. For digits. I punched them in. Click. The door creaked open. Inside were stacks of envelopes, cash, 2 more flash drives, and a small black notebook. I grabbed everything and left. Fast. Back in the car, I opened the notebook. Names, dates, codes, amounts, and initials I didn't recognize. It read like a ledger, like something out of a gangster movie. And one name appeared more than once. Dylan, the betrayal wasn't just physical. It was business. Whatever Emily was into, my brother was part of it. And they were making real money doing it. Which meant this wasn't an affair. It was a partnership. And I was the idiot financing the whole thing. I sat in the car, the black notebook resting in my lap like it weighed 50 pounds. Every page I turned peeled back another layer of rot. There were initials I didn't recognize, JW, MT, LS, listed next to strange codes and dollar amounts. R6K, TFR, 9, C drop 215. It wasn't just money laundering. It was movement, drops, transfers, like a dam operation. And Dylan's initials? They were on nearly every third page, always next to the larger sums. They weren't just screwing behind my back. They were profiting behind my back, using my house, my car, my schedule, my silence. Emily had been clever. She kept her worlds separated. The doting wife, the loving mom, all while running whatever the hell this was from a storage unit 2 towns over. And me? I was the idiot who paid the bills while they used my garage to run a side hustle. But not anymore. I wasn't going to cry again. I wasn't going to sit on the floor of my kid's bedroom whispering promises I couldn't keep. I was going to act. And I was going to ruin them. First, I photographed every page in the notebook, making a digital copy. Then I bagged the notebook and flash drives in a Ziploc I had in my glove box. Years of being a dad had taught me to keep random crap in the car, wet wipes, Ziplocs, juice boxes. Now they were part of a case file. I called my lawyer again. Change of plans. I need a recommendation for a criminal attorney, one who plays dirty. He didn't ask questions. Just texted me a name, Lyle Grant. Said he'd send word ahead. Said Lyle owed him a favor. Good. Because I was about to flip the script. I got home late, dropped the kids at my mom's, and sat alone in the living room. The house was quiet. Too quiet. And then, as if summoned by the pure rage in my chest, a knock hit the door. I opened it to see Emily. In full makeup, dressed like she was going to brunch. Designer bag on her shoulder. Like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't been caught holding the shovel at the scene of the burial. I came to get more of my things, she said. I didn't move from the doorway. No, you came to see if I was going to play nice. She tilted her head. What are you talking about? I found the storage unit. Her smile cracked. I have the notebook, the flash drives, the videos, the ledger, everything. The color drained from her face. She stepped back. You went through my private things? No, sweetheart, I said, stepping toward her. I went through evidence. Evidence of fraud, conspiracy, maybe trafficking, depending on what's on those drives. You're bluffing, she whispered. Try me. She opened her mouth, closed it. I saw the gears turning. She was calculating, always calculating, wondering what I knew, what I had, how fast she could spin a new lie. I'll go, she finally said. But if you expose this, we all go down. Dylan included. Think about the twins. The twins. I snapped. You mean the ones you used as camouflage while you laundered money with my brother? You don't get to weaponize them now. She straightened her posture. A flicker of defiance lit her eyes. You think you're in control, Nick? You're not. There are people involved in this who don't even know your name. But they will. If you leak that notebook, you won't just ruin me. You'll start something you can't stop. I stared at her. Good, I said. I want them to come. Because I've got nothing left to lose. She didn't respond. She turned and walked back to her car, but not before looking over her shoulder one last time, as burning with something that wasn't regret. Fear. For the first time, she was scared. And that's when I realized something. I was done being the victim. I wasn't some sobbing husband in a YouTube story that people skip halfway through. I was the storm they didn't see coming. The next day, I stepped into Lyle Grant's office and placed the bag on his desk. He raised an eyebrow. This what I think it is? No, I said. It's worse. He looked at me. And what do you want to do with it? I smiled for the first time in days. Burn everything. But legally. He nodded slowly. Then let's get started. And just like that, the final chapter of my old life was done. And the war had officially begun. I wasn't supposed to hear what I heard that day. But life doesn't ask you for permission when it decides to tear your heart out. It was a cold Tuesday afternoon. I had just finished a doctor's appointment in town, and on a whim, I thought I'd swing by my parents' house. No heads up. No warning. I parked outside, heart calm, unaware that within the next 10 minutes, my entire world would detonate. I walked through the side gate, as I'd done 100 times before, and quietly entered the house through the back door. I didn't call out. I was planning to surprise them, but I was the one who got surprised. Voices drifted from the kitchen. My mother's voice. Then another. Familiar. My wife's. "Dear," my mom said, "my son is so overweight, and I understand how that can be difficult for you as a woman." I froze. "Have you tried the guy I set you up with?" she continued, like she was talking about a damn yoga instructor. "He's the perfect lover and good for a woman's health." I couldn't breathe. "Yes, Mom, it was amazing," my wife said. Her voice. Her tone. Giddy. Shameless. Proud. And just like that, I stopped being a husband. You ever feel your heart slow down while your mind speeds up? Like your body knows it's about to break, but your brain wants to record every second of the crash? That was me. I stood there paralyzed, every cell screaming. My mother. The woman who gave birth to me. Setting up my wife with another man because I wasn't good enough. And my wife? Smiling through it. As if I was just some obstacle in her life she had to work around. I didn't walk into that kitchen. I didn't make a sound. I turned around like a damn ghost, slipped back out the door, and got into my truck. My hand shook so hard on the steering wheel, I thought I was going to crash before I made it out of the neighborhood. But I didn't. I drove. For hours. Didn't answer calls. Didn't text back. I disappeared. From that moment on, I became someone else. I ghosted everyone, my parents, my wife, even mutual friends. Moved states. Changed my number. No divorce, no arguments, just complete and utter vanishing. It was easier than staying and watching the two women I loved most act like I was disposable trash. That betrayal? It doesn't stab you once. It strangles you slowly, over months, years. It echoes in your bones. I thought I'd buried it. Buried her. But 5 years later, on a rainy October morning, I opened my front door, and there she was. Brittany. My wife. Her hair was gone, completely shaved. No makeup. Just standing there in a long, soaked coat like some ghost out of a nightmare I'd locked away. "I need to talk to you," she said, voice trembling. I didn't say anything. I didn't invite her in. I just stood there, looking at her. At the shell of the woman who once shared my bed, my name, my future. She looked broken. "I was stupid," she whispered. "But I have to tell you something. I don't care if you slam the door. Just let me speak." I let her. And what she said next would twist everything even worse. I stepped aside. Not because I forgave her. Not because I was curious. But because after 5 years of silence, I wanted to look into her eyes and see if the guilt ever reached her soul. She walked in slowly, like the house might bite her. Same house we were supposed to grow old in, the one she helped me pick out before everything rotted. She stood in the middle of the living room, dripping rainwater onto the floor, still in that damn trench coat. "Nice haircut," I muttered, my voice dry as sandpaper. She gave a small, humorless laugh. I shaved it off myself. "I've been going through things." I didn't respond. I didn't ask what. I sat down on the armrest of the couch, arms crossed, heart armored. "I'm not here to make excuses," she started, avoiding my eyes. "I know I was a monster. I know what I did to you. What we did to you was unforgivable." I raised an eyebrow. "We." She looked down. "Your mom and I." I stood up. "You mean my mother, the one who carried me 9 months, raised me, taught me to be loyal, that woman encouraged you to cheat on me?" Brittany nodded. "It wasn't just encouragement. It was planned. She set it up. Told me you were letting yourself go. That you weren't satisfying me. That I deserved better." I felt heat crawl up my neck. I could hear blood thudding in my ears. "And you believed her?" "I wanted to believe her," she snapped, finally looking up. "Because it was easier than facing the truth. That I was bored. That I wanted something new. That I was selfish." Her voice cracked. For a moment, I thought she might actually cry. But then she straightened. "I did it. I met him. A guy she knew from some country club. His name was Travis. He was charming, fit, experienced. I let him take me to a hotel while you were working overtime to pay for our damn kitchen remodel." She spat it out like a confession, and each word sliced deeper. "He touched me like I was some forbidden fruit," she continued, "and I liked it. I let it happen more than once. And each time, I told myself you'd never find out. Because you were just too nice." I wanted to scream, punch a wall, collapse. But I stayed still, listening, letting her bury herself with every word. Then she said the part that finally broke me. "Your mom would call me the next morning, ask for the details, and laugh like we were gossiping about nail salons. She said, men like my son never keep women happy. That's why I never stayed with his father." That was it. That final snap in my chest. My world wasn't just broken, It had been built on lies. You didn't just cheat on me, I said slowly. You humiliated me with the one person I thought would never turn on me. You turned my own mother into your damn wingman. She flinched, but didn't deny it. I walked toward the door and opened it. You said you came here to tell me something. You told me. Now leave. She hesitated. Please. There's more. I need you to know what happened after. I don't care. Her lips trembled, and for the first time in this entire mess, I saw something real flicker in her eyes. Regret? Guilt? Too late. Goodbye, Brittany. She stood on the porch as the rain fell heavier. She didn't move. I closed the door in her face. But her ghost stayed behind. I stood there for a while, my hand still gripping the doorknob after I'd slammed it shut. My breathing was shallow, my chest rising and falling like I'd just run a damn marathon. The silence inside the house was louder than her confession. It echoed with the ghost of every laugh, every kiss, every plan we ever made. I should have felt victorious, I guess, finally having the power to shut that door. But instead, I felt hollow. Like the ground had been ripped out from under me, and I was falling through memory after memory with nothing to grab onto. I walked to the sink, poured myself a glass of water, and stared out the kitchen window. Rain pelted the glass like 1,000 little fists. For a second, I could see her standing there on the porch through the curtain, motionless, soaked, and small. And despite everything, a part of me still wanted to run out and give her a towel. That part disgusted me. This woman didn't just betray me, she conspired with my own mother to rip out my spine and laugh while doing it. And the worst part? She had the audacity to come back like I owed her a damn conversation. Like I just let her step back into my life, wet coat and all, as if nothing had happened. But it wasn't over. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped under my front door. No name on it. No return address. Inside was a photo, a single, wrinkled picture of my wife and Travis standing beside each other on a boat. She was in a bikini I'd never seen before, her head on his shoulder, his hand resting on her lower back like she was his prize. And then I noticed it, the date in the corner. Taken 3 weeks after I disappeared. Attached was a sticky note. Don't believe everything she says. He wasn't the only one. My blood turned ice. I stared at the note, turning it over, as if some explanation would be scribbled on the back. But it was blank. Just that one sentence, vague, threatening, true. I had questions now. Who sent this? Was it Travis? Was it my mother? Someone else who knew about what they did? One betrayal was bad enough. But the idea that she'd lied even more than she confessed, that there were other men, other lies, reopened wounds I hadn't even let scab over. I spent the rest of the day in a fog. Sat on the couch flipping through old photos like they were pages from someone else's life. There was one from Christmas, the last one we spent together. She was wearing red, holding my arm, smiling for the camera. I remember that night. She kept checking her phone every 10 minutes and said it was work. It wasn't work. It was him. Or maybe one of the others. Later that night, I poured a drink, something I hadn't done in years, and stared into the dark. My mind kept going back to the look on her face. That half-apologetic, half-arrogant expression like she expected me to listen just because she'd shaved her head and cried a little. She wasn't sorry. She was desperate. Desperate for what, though? Redemption? Closure? Or worse, money? Because deep down, I knew Brittany never came back just to say sorry. She came back because she wanted something. And I was about to find out what. 2 days passed after the photo and the note. I didn't hear from her. No knocks on the door. No calls. Nothing. I figured maybe that was it, her final performance, curtain closed. Maybe she realized she couldn't manipulate me anymore and vanished back into whatever messy life she'd made without me. But I was wrong. It was Saturday morning, early. The kind of early where the sky's still gray and the coffee hasn't kicked in yet. I heard a knock. Soft at first. Then again. Louder. Reluctant. I opened the door. She was back. But this time, she wasn't alone. Next to her stood a little girl. Maybe 4 years old. Dark curly hair. Big brown eyes. She clutched Brittany's coat with both hands like she'd fall without it. My stomach dropped. This is Ava, Brittany said, her voice barely above a whisper. She's your daughter. Silence. I just stared. At Brittany. At the little girl. My brain short-circuited. My chest turned cold. I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. You show up after 5 years, confess to cheating with a guy my mom set you up with, and now you come back with a kid? She's yours, Brittany said. I got pregnant just before you left. I didn't even know until after you were gone. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me so Ava wouldn't hear what I was about to say. I leaned close to Brittany, keeping my voice low but sharp. If that's true, why wait 5 years? Why now? She flinched, just slightly. Because I didn't know where you were. You disappeared. I had no way of contacting you. You could have gone to my job. My friends. A lawyer. She looked away. I thought you hated me too much to even care, she said. I took a step back and looked down at the girl. Ava. My daughter? She didn't look up. She just twisted the fabric of Brittany's coat in her small fingers, nervous, like she already knew something was wrong. I hated this. I hated how a single sentence, "She's your daughter," could rip open every scar I'd spent years sealing shut. I didn't say anything for a full minute. Then finally, "What do you want from me?" "I just want you to meet her," she said. "To know her. And maybe help." There it was. The real reason. Money. Of course. My voice dropped an octave. "So this is about child support now?" "No," she said too quickly. "I mean, yes, I need help. But that's not why I came." She looked up at me, eyes wide, trying to summon that fake sincerity she used to wear like perfume. "She deserves to know her father." I shook my head slowly. "You destroyed every part of me. Burned the bridge, danced on the ashes. And now you think you can just walk back in because you brought a child with you?" "She's innocent," she whispered. I nodded. "And you're not." I stepped back inside and closed the door. No yelling. No drama. Just quiet rage. Behind that door, I stood there, fist clenched, staring at the wood grain like it held answers. Was she telling the truth? Was Ava really mine? And if she was, what kind of father wouldn't want to know his daughter? But I also knew one thing for sure. Brittany hadn't come back for closure. She came back to use me again, just like before. Only this time, her weapon had big brown eyes and a name. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind played ping-pong between fury and confusion. Ava's face kept flashing in front of me, those curious brown eyes, that nervous little grip on Brittany's coat. I kept asking myself, what if she's telling the truth? What if that little girl is mine? But then the other side of me, bitter, hardened, untrusting, laughed in my face. Of course she says the kid's yours. That's her last play. What better way to tie herself back into your life than a child? Still, I couldn't ignore it. I needed clarity. Proof. I called Brittany the next morning. She picked up after the first ring. "We need a DNA test," I said. "No, hello. No small talk." "I figured you'd say that," she replied. Her voice wasn't surprised. It wasn't hurt. It was calculated. Like she'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror. "We can set it up," she continued. "I'll even pay for it." That caught me off guard. "Why?" I asked. "Because I'm not lying, Daniel," she said. "Not about this." It was the first time in years she'd said my name out loud. It didn't feel warm or familiar. It felt like a trick, a poisoned apple in her hand. We set the appointment for that Friday. Neutral lab. No games. I met her in the parking lot. Ava was in the back seat, strapped into a booster, kicking her feet quietly. When I opened the door, she looked up at me and gave the tiniest smile. I nodded. No words. My chest felt like it was filled with cement. Inside the clinic, the nurse guided us through the process. Cheek swabs. Names on forms. Ava didn't cry or squirm. She just looked at me like I was a puzzle she hadn't solved yet. And the whole time, Brittany stood there like she was part of some courtroom drama. Calm. Silent. Too still. When it was done, I walked out first. Brittany caught up to me in the parking lot. "You don't have to talk to me," she said quickly. "But I need you to know something." I crossed my arms, jaw locked. "What?" "I left Travis. 2 years ago. He got violent. He hurt me." I didn't respond. I didn't blink. I wasn't going to play therapist to the woman who shattered my life. "I'm not asking for sympathy," she continued. "I'm just trying to say I've changed." "You don't get to say that," I snapped. "You don't get to cheat on me, lie about it for years, vanish, and then waltz back in with a kid and tell me you've changed." Her eyes welled up. "She doesn't even ask about a dad anymore. She just assumes everyone has one except her." I swallowed. That hit harder than I expected. "She asks why she doesn't have one," she added. "And I've run out of ways to lie." "You're good at lying," I said coldly. "I'm sure you'll think of something." Then I got in my truck and drove away. I didn't turn back. But my mind did. For the next 3 days, I waited for the result like a man on death row. Because either way, I was screwed. If Ava wasn't mine, I'd been used again, manipulated into caring. If she was mine, I had to make the hardest decision of my life, whether I could be a father to a child born of betrayal. Friday came. So did the call. She's yours, the nurse said. No fanfare. No hesitation. Just 3 words. 3 damn words that split my world wide open. I sat in silence for almost an hour after that call, just staring at the wall. No movement. No thoughts. Nothing but those 3 words ricocheting through my head like bullets. She's yours. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But mostly, I wanted to rewind time. Go back to before I stepped into my parents' kitchen that day. Before I heard the conversation that shattered my life. Before Brittany. Before the betrayal. Before everything. But time doesn't care about your pain. It doesn't stop. It just keeps bleeding forward. Ava was mine. That little girl with big brown eyes was my flesh and blood. And suddenly, it wasn't about Brittany anymore. It wasn't about what she did or didn't do. It wasn't about the men, the lies, the humiliation. It was about a kid. My kid. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced the house like a caged animal, replaying every moment I'd seen Ava, how quiet she was, how she never asked questions, how she looked at me with that shy curiosity. She didn't know who I was, but I had a feeling she felt something. I picked up the phone a dozen times to call Brittany. Every time I hovered my thumb over her number, I felt sick. I hated that the path to my daughter ran through the woman who'd wrecked me, but I had to make a choice. So I texted her instead. I want to see Ava. Just her. No you. The typing bubbles appeared within seconds, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, okay. Sunday, noon. The park by 9th and Bell. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Sunday came fast. I stood under the big oak tree by the playground, heart pounding like a damn war drum. It had been years since I'd felt this nervous. I'd stared down business meetings, legal negotiations, even a car wreck once, and none of them shook me like this. Then I saw her. Ava. She was walking beside Brittany, holding a little pink stuffed bunny in her hand. When she saw me, she stopped. Brittany said something to her. Ava nodded. Then she walked, alone, up to me. Hi, she said, her voice soft. I knelt down. Hey, Ava. She looked at the ground, then at me. Are you really my dad? I wasn't ready for the weight in that question. The innocence. The hope. I nodded. Yeah, kiddo. I am. She smiled. A real one. It cracked my heart wide open. She sat beside me on the bench, legs swinging. We talked. About cartoons. Her favorite cereal. A turtle she saw once at the zoo. She didn't ask why I hadn't been there. She didn't cry. She just existed beside me like we'd done this every weekend for years. It broke me. After an hour, Brittany came back. She kept her distance but gave me a look, one of those, we need to talk stares. I stood, kissed Ava on the head, and whispered, I'll see you soon. As Brittany walked toward us, I held up my hand. Don't. Not now. She stopped mid-step. Nodded. I walked away without looking back. That night, I lay awake thinking about that tiny smile. The way she held that bunny. The way she looked at me with pure, unfiltered trust. Ava was innocent. She didn't deserve to be dragged through the ashes of what Brittany and my mother had done. But if I wanted to be in her life, I'd have to find a way to stand beside the very woman who once destroyed me. And that terrified me more than anything. Over the next 2 weeks, I saw Ava 3 more times. Park visits. Ice cream runs. She loved the swing set, hated bugs, and insisted that carrots tasted like punishment. Every minute I spent with her was both healing and tormenting, because every smile she gave me reminded me of all the years I'd lost. I missed her first steps, her first words, her first everything. And the woman responsible for that, the same woman who once whispered someone else's name while still wearing my ring, was now the gatekeeper to my daughter. It was a trap I couldn't walk around. I had to walk through it. Then came the day Brittany asked to talk in private. I met her at a diner near the edge of town. Neutral ground. Public. No chance of fireworks, at least, that's what I told myself. She showed up looking soft, not glamorous, not manipulative, just tired. I appreciate you seeing Ava, she started as we sat. Cut to it, I said. You didn't ask me here to thank me. She inhaled slowly. I'm in trouble. Of course. I stirred my coffee without looking at her. Financial. She nodded. I lost my job 3 months ago. Medical bills. Rent. I've been trying to stay afloat for Ava, but I'm drowning. I clenched my jaw. You waited until after the DNA test to say any of this. I had to. You wouldn't have believed me otherwise. She was right. But that didn't make it easier to swallow. I'm not asking for a blank check, she added quickly. Just a little help. For Ava. I studied her. Every twitch. every blink. She wasn't crying. That was new. She looked defeated, and it didn't feel like an act. Still, I'd be a fool not to ask, is this about Ava? Or are you trying to dig your claws into me again? Her eyes flared for a moment, then dimmed. I don't blame you for asking that, she said quietly. You have every right to think the worst of me. I was the worst. No argument there. Then say it, I challenged. Say what you did. She didn't flinch. I cheated on you. Multiple times. I laughed about it with your mother. I let you break yourself for our marriage while I entertained other men behind your back. She exhaled, like the words were poison she needed to spit out. I was cruel, ungrateful, vain. And when you vanished, I told myself you deserved it for walking away without giving me a chance to explain. She looked at me with eyes stripped of pretense. But you were right to leave. I didn't speak. I just listened. And for the first time, I didn't feel rage. I felt exhaustion. Like every ounce of hate I'd carried for her had burned up, leaving only this bitter, cold ash behind. What do you want from me now? I asked. Not forgiveness, she said. I'm not that naive. Just help. For her. Not for me. I nodded slowly. I'll help Ava. But you and I, we're done. There is no us. There never will be again. I know, she whispered. I stood, pulled a folded envelope from my coat, and dropped it on the table. 3 months support. For her. Use it wisely. She nodded, didn't touch it until I walked out the door. I got in my truck, stared at the wheel for a long minute. Being close to Brittany again felt like sleeping next to a fire. Too far, and I'd freeze. Too close, and I'd burn. But Ava? She was worth every risk. And for her, I'd keep one hand near the flames. Life didn't magically get easier after that diner meeting. If anything, it got messier. I had to learn how to be a father to a kid who didn't really know me, all while trying to keep her mother at arm's length, a mother who, despite everything, still lived in the orbit of my every decision now. But I kept my word. I supported Ava. I called. I visited. I listened when she talked about her nightmares and her favorite cartoons, and I smiled through the ache when she asked, "Why did it take you so long to find me?" I never blamed her. I never could. She was the only piece of my past that was pure. But the storm was far from over. It came crashing in one Thursday afternoon when I received a letter, an official one. Custody court summons. Filed by Brittany. I nearly crushed the paper in my hands. She wanted full custody. I called her the moment I could form words. What the hell is this? I'm not trying to take her from you, she replied. The state needs paperwork. Legal structure. You have no parental rights on record. You could have told me before dropping a bomb in my mailbox. I didn't want another fight, she said. I thought you'd assume the worst. I was trying to protect Ava's stability. My laugh was hollow. You think I'm worried about fights? I've been to war with myself since the day I found out what you did. The court date was set for 2 weeks later. I hired a lawyer, gathered documents, messages, evidence of support, character references. My entire life was suddenly a legal chessboard. But the kicker came 3 days before the hearing, a message from my lawyer. You need to see this. He forwarded me screenshots. Brittany, texting someone named Caleb. If he pushes for custody, I'll say he threatened me. He has rage issues. It'll be easy. I just want this wrapped up fast. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Rage issues? Me? The man who walked away from betrayal instead of burning their lives to the ground? I felt something dark pulse in my chest, not just anger, but disbelief. After everything, she was still lying, still manipulating. She was ready to drag me into court and play victim to keep control. But this time, I had proof. I printed everything, delivered it to my lawyer, sat through that courtroom session with my jaw locked and my pulse steady. When the judge asked about the text messages, my lawyer slid them across the table like a pair of loaded dice. Brittany went pale. She tried to deny it, said they were faked. But the timestamps matched, and Caleb, whoever the hell he was, confirmed their authenticity when subpoenaed. The judge stared at her like she was something he scraped off his shoe. Temporary joint custody was granted to me, with a motion to pursue full rights pending further investigation. Outside the courtroom, Brittany followed me to the parking lot. You think you won? She hissed. No, I said, unlocking my truck. I think Ava did. You're no saint, Daniel. You abandoned her. I abandoned you, I snapped. You made sure Ava never knew I existed. You built this lie and set it on fire. I'm just the one pulling her out of the smoke. She stared at me, stunned. I hope someday, I said, Ava sees you for what you are. And I hope I've given her enough love to survive that day. I got in and drove away, letting the past collapse behind me like a building finally giving in. Brittany was fire. Deceptive. Dangerous. Beautiful from a distance, lethal up close. But I wasn't burned anymore. I was done being the ashes. Now, I was something else entirely, something stronger. For Ava, I had to be.